Hey there guys, it's Metro. I don't think I've ever done this before, but I released a video at the same moment I started the stream. That's how big that news. I guess it's not common for there to be news this early in the day on a Tuesday. So that's another reason that's never happened before. I don't even really, like, whatever, if that video gets hurt by doing that, I don't even really care because there's no way we're going to be able to not talk about that throughout the stream today. So yeah, just if you haven't, like, if you're just waking up or you're not seeing this or you're not aware what happened, stop watching this and go watch that. And then honestly, if you want to just come back here, we can discuss it, or if you'd rather leave a comment in the video, whatever's easier. But yeah, I'm very eager to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Definitely the craziest changes they've ever made. Can't sell a soulbind item. Oh, I tried to give it to somebody and I never got it and learned or whatever. Best Mythic Plus changes they've ever made. You sure? Take your word for it. Metro Knight. What's the name of the character? I don't want to hear no complaining. Don't you change your mind on that now. Got a little bit too many changes in the last few weeks for me, but like I said in the video, if you guys are happy, I'll be happy. Just so we don't have to keep hearing this nonsense about affixes. I mean, it sounds like... Alright, so the question I have then, I'm sure you read it. Do you think each key is going to get 20% harder, or is it simply just a flat 20% to make up for the fact that there's an additional challenge being put on it? Like if you go from 13, you go from 12 to 13, is it now 40%? You think it's flat 20? Okay. Anyway, let me know, I don't know, like, when that beta testing is going to be. If anybody ends up seeing about that today, let me know, because I'm definitely going to be doing that. I assume it's not going to be today, but maybe it's later today. If it is later today, then I'll probably just do it tomorrow. But if we can get on there the rest of the week, that'd be fine by me. Because I have a lot to learn about the actual affixes, or about the actual dungeons still. Just seems so needlessly complicated, which is the real problem with it for me. I'm so glad they listened. Did they though? I mean, that's the thing I said in the video. It's like, it's some monkey's paw shit, it feels like. It really does. Hopefully people will be happy with it. That's all I can say. Not complicated. Keys 12 and up. It's just you versus the instance. It's not though, right? Like, they made fortified and tyrannical both exist seemingly. I don't understand the fucking point of that when you're also making everything 20% harder. Like, how the fuck does that even work? What is the point of that? Showtext, if you don't know what we're talking about, stop watching this and go watch the video that I pinned. If both are there, they don't matter. It sounds like that would be the case, right? But why are they there at all then, if that's the case? Like, what is the point for them being there at all? And does that double dip on the other affix, right? Like, how do you have two 20% buffs? Like, I don't understand how that works. But anyway, besides that, I assume this means the keys get way harder each level. Like, it has to. Otherwise, why are these things still there? So yeah, I think it means that, like, each level is going to get substantially harder than the last, first of all. And then on top of that, they're making the dungeons far more punishing for deaths, which is like, fuck that. Yeah. That is the actual worst thing I've ever read on a Mythic Plus post in my entire life. Crazy. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, as long as you guys are happy, I'll be happy just to stop hearing all the complaints about affixes. I think they're there to make a difference for low keys each week. Right, and like I said in the video, it's like, it's just so overcomplicated. It's like a key that you do at a low level and a key that you do at a high level are not even going to play in any way the same. I don't know. It's just crazy, like, that this needed to happen to solve this easy-ass problem. It's so obvious to me. Like, just make a weekly score. I didn't understand how Blizzard doesn't see it that way. I guess maybe they just don't want all these additional layers of progression on top of this one system, but they're so worried about it. It's a very obvious problem to me. I think they're trying to streamline stuff for everyone from sub 5 to world first keys. Well, that did the exact opposite. That's, I mean, maybe you just worded that wrong, but Neo, if you didn't see what happened, I have the pinned comment there. Go ahead and stop watching this and go watch that first, and then we'll talk about it. I almost never do that where I upload a video this like right when I stream, so that's telling you something. Probably the most important Mythic Plus news ever. I would say the Season 4 changes were very, very big, but I don't think many people actually interacted with them in our audience. These ones, like, yeah, this is going to interact with everybody in our audience. Like, think about how different reviewing a low key is going to be now compared to a high key. It's going to be fucking insane. It's probably actually, this is probably actually going to make low keys harder. I don't know what those affixes are going to look like, but it's going to be like, sounds like it's going to be really mechanically complicated. What level did they say those start at? 4 or something? Or was it not till like 5 or something? Shit falling from the sky. People have to pick it up. I can't even imagine. Low keys are going to be funny as fuck to review now compared to high keys. Yeah, but what level is the one that like you're supposed to get the kiss curse from? It's 2? Okay, so there you go. So yeah, can you imagine what... I have a review of a 2 coming out sometime soon where people are like... I mean, I don't even know how they don't upgrade it, to be honest. Like, it's actually insane. I don't... It's crazy. Like, the key looks like so fucking easy and they just... Anyway, I won't spoil it, but yeah. I just can't even imagine what a 2 is going to look like if that's the case. It sounds crazy. It's going to be crazy. But anyway, yeah, I'm eager to get on the beta, so if you guys hear anything before I get to hear anything, let me know. I did not expect there to be that news today, that's for sure. That affix that subtracts 15 seconds on death sounds stupid. Yeah, the beta servers are down right now, yeah, so I'm not sure if they're going to come back up today. Probably today. I don't know if they'll do the Mythic Plus testing today is more what I was saying. Whenever they do that, we'll be on there, even if I have to change weekend stuff around. The new affixes sound nuts, not sure in a good or bad way. That's the problem, yeah. If they don't give shamans more defensives, then it's really over for shaman players. Right, and like, I don't know how you guys have like reconciled this in your head, but you know, I think it's pretty obvious that when you have tyrannical, it means that like you can take a break on fort. And when you have fort, it means you can little bit of a break on bosses here and there. Like now, if every single combat is intense, and on top of that, it's going to be scaled to be harder than ever before. Are we going to finish any keys next season? Like, I actually don't know that we'll finish. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, this sounds like they just made every key like twice as hard. Maybe more than twice as hard. On top of that, the death change, like these keys are going to be fucking insane. So I don't know. I don't know what our character is going to be doing next season. If it's still supposed to be like a 22 as a 12, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't really get 22s done in season 1. 22 is like a point of progression for us. So like, I think there's a world where like I may not even get to do 12s anymore after these changes. This is like probably the craziest. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Very punishing, it sounds like. Oh, disbands are gonna run wild now, yeah. Because like, you already have people freaking out over one death when there's no reason to. I said it in the video though, like, I don't know that anybody's gonna be smart enough to realize that 15 seconds is a thing now. People are probably... Oh, I never even opened my vault, by the way. People are probably not even aware of that, considering we still have people come in to talk about raging, like if it does damage a year later. What is that thing? I don't even know what that is. I don't want anything. We'll just take the sockets. It's 2 sockets, so that's pretty good. I do wonder if with the introduction of delves, they really want to move the casual player base out of low keys entirely and make it so people who want to do keys have some kind of challenge. Well, that's what I kind of said in the last video. Like, I think they already accomplished that with zeros. Foam, what's up, buddy? Welcome. So you could have both tyrannical and fortified, yeah. On high keys, you're going to have 3 things modifying the modifier, basically. Right, because that's how it works. There's already a % modifier based on the key level, and then you have currently either fort or tyrannical modifying that, right? Now you have 2 things modifying each of those. So, like, how the fuck does that stack? I have no idea. So, I don't know. I don't really understand it. It's the most complicated thing I think I've ever read, and it just makes me like facepalm when I read it. It's like the community made such a big fucking deal over this that they got them to make this ridiculously complicated change. And like I said, as long as people are happy with it, I'm fine. But I have a pretty strong feeling that there's going to be more complaints now. What else? 14s are going to delete everyone who isn't basically a world first key pusher. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like to be even able to do a 12 is going to be very, very, very difficult now. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I want to get on the beta for sure. Hopefully they'll have it scaling so we can actually test 12s. Because last time I was on there, it was like you're not even going to be able to do a 10, let alone a 12. But for now, we will do some keys on live. Unfortunately, the servers were down way longer than they should ever be on a day without any content coming out. So we are starting late, and I will not be ending late. I will be still ending around the same time, so this will be a pretty short stream. But we're going to see what we can get done. It's a fortified week, right? Yeah. Calvin, what's up, buddy? Water finds its level. You get to the keys you were meant to be doing. What? I'm just talking about from like a pug perspective. It sounds like they're making things harder and harder each season, really. Is this the last time we'll see volcanic? No, there'll be another volcanic week still. It's the last time we'll see any affixes, like, apparently. Thanks for stopping by, affixes. They're gonna need big tuning passes to have Fort and Tyrant on the same key. Right, and like another thing that isn't immediately thought of, it's that this now really puts the onus on the actual base dungeon tuning, right? When you have a situation like we had in Season 1 of Dragonflight, where Shadow Moon Burial Ground's damage output was simply lower than every other dungeons on bosses, it's like, you know, it's not good as it is. But then when you get into higher keys and you realize how imbalanced that dungeon is, it really exposes the bad design and the bad systems they're putting forward. Well, now you have even further things stacking that up. You know what I mean? Like, it just continues to get more and more important with all of these changes. So we'll see how it goes. They don't have to tune around affixes. They can just simply focus on bosses and trash. I don't think that... I mean, I've never heard of a change I don't think they've ever made any type of tuning changes based on affixes, have they? Maybe. I mean, maybe they make them and we don't realize they're making them. I've never seen, like, this mob does too much damage on bolstering week, so we nerfed it. I've never seen that said. Every boss cannot be 3.5 minutes slugfest, and each pack live for 90 seconds. That's what I'm saying, that they're going to be, right? Like, think about your average boss length on a Tyrannical week right now. It's at least 3 minutes, if not 4 to 5 minutes at this level. We're doing a 14 right now. Take a look at what this key level looks like, you know. These two affixes matter in no way to bosses. They don't impact bosses at all. You know, granted that's volcanic. It could. Almost won't ever, but it could. But let's just say for the sake of the discussion, it doesn't. So now... Well, this is actually a fortified week, so bad example. But pretend it was a Tyrannical week, right? We have a 4-minute boss coming up. On top of that, they also made it so it has 20% more health and damage on top of Tyrannical. So now we have... Okay, let's just do this. So now we have a 5-minute boss coming up on average? So every boss is now going to be 5 minutes on average. And if you die once, it's 3 times more punishing. Well, it's hard to quantify exactly how much more punishment there is because obviously dying on a boss fight is potentially unrecoverable at times. But, yeah. They can tune things. We also don't know how the scaling works. There's a lot of things we don't know, and obviously they can and will tune things, but... I mean, it just does it not sound more complicated to you than simply just having the game be the way it was before? It sounds so much more complicated for everybody involved. And it sounds way, way fucking harder, too. For the player, it sounds like it's going to be so much harder to actually progress. Each key level is going to be a massive jump now, I imagine. Mythic Plus was better when it wasn't completely balanced around the MDI. I'm not talking about the MDI, that's for sure. At no point have I ever discussed anything related to the MDI in this conversation. But yeah, so now like the onus is going to be on good dungeons and good dungeon tuning. And that is, I'm skeptical, put it that way, based on some of the seasons. Would be kind of nuts for them to kill Mythic Plus pugging. Well, to me, it sounds like they're not trying to kill it. They're trying to make it, like, way less popular in that range. It's basically like you're going to be now pugging. If you want to pug, you're going to be pretty much stuck at 11. It'll probably be like old style shit where players would get to 10 and then they'd kind of get farmed by 10 to never move on. Hey, Dilson, what's up, buddy? Where's part 2 of that BH run? Yeah, a lot to talk about. If you guys didn't see, somebody came forward, quote unquote, and said that Dilson basically lied about the situation and that he trolled those guys previously, so they joined that group to troll him. Which, I mean, even if it was true, it's still ridiculously petty and not even, like, that does not make me feel any differently about what I'm reviewing. Beware. But regardless, it's like, well, how did they even know he was in the group? If that, like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's really sad, like, whoever made that claim, like, they don't even have the fucking balls to post a second time. It's like, bro, you're not allowed to just say that shit and walk away. That is not how this works. If I was going to be toxic, it would have been... Well, none of it makes sense. Like, I've never seen anybody behave. Like, if you were suddenly really upset in the previous run, all of a sudden, no, like, frustration on your... Like, there's no evidence of it in the next run. Like, what? What? Like, what are you talking about? Who does that? That's just not how emotions work, right? Beware. Shadowlands is the peak of Mythic Plus for me, but I sort of dislike Dragonflight, so it's a welcome. I welcome the drastic changes. Probably be more fun than it is at the moment. Gotcha. Oh, like I said, as long as you guys who all have these weird opinions about affixes are happy, I'll be happy, because I don't really care. I just like progression over a long period of time. It does sound like that's going to be harder, but I like challenge, so if, we never upgrade a single 12 all season, I'll be disappointed, but as long as there's still progression there in the pug setting, I'll be happy. Do you think Blizzard have more changes for Blood Decay? Probably not at this point. Seems like those affixes they added for testing didn't last long. Oh yeah, the ones from last time? Yeah, that was... That's like, I don't know. I guess that's what an alpha's for, so that's cool, but man, is that kind of hard to read. You put all this effort into testing them and then they're gone after one testing phase. That's crazy. Doing some quick math on the upcoming affixes, there's 38% additional modifier hitting bosses and a 50% additional modifier at hitting trash. Yeah, what did you do to do the math? I don't understand how it works. If you have two, like, what is this? This is 20% more health and then another 20% more health. How does that work? Like, well, that's just so complicated, it feels like. Beware. I just watched your video. It made me laugh. What, the one I just released today, or the one from Dillason's thing? Trying to wrap my head around the new affixes, Fort and Tyrant together along a lot of stuff. It's just going to be weird. I think it's going to probably end up being relatively passive, where you're never going to interact with it. But if you go from an 11 to 12, it sounds like it's going to be huge. Sounds like it's going to be wildly different. Zalatat's Guile affects bosses as well, pretty sure, since it just says... Yeah, it's everything. It says everything, yeah. Beware. That's a better Kiss Curse affix. If you watch the video I published, you'll see my reaction to that. Like, I really like that affix. I'm disappointed that it's gone after basic keys. Baseline scaling times 1.2 for the 20% to all with Zalatat's Bargain. Then 1.15 for Tyran. So it's like you multiply the multiplier. Is that how you do it? We don't know the gap between 11 and 12. They can just lower the scaling. No, the scaling is not. It's uniform. So unless they change the actual uniformity of it, it's always going to be the same.
Get those bones cleared out. We must be prepared for Targath's plans.
Baseline scaling exponential. So all I can call it is baseline scaling. Yeah, it's just superly complicated for a very basic issue. Missed last week, so here's the belated payday. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. They did a lower scaling between Keith's past 20 and whatever season it was. Did they? I'm unaware of that. I remember them scaling the uniformity of it, like, but I don't ever remember saying a 20 and a 21 having the different values compared to a 19 and a 20. Between the two hero talents, which one do you prefer? Hey, Nick, what's up? I prefer Deathbringer currently.
Intruders! Where have you come from?
That bird is the one we missed last time we did this and got us in a bad pickle.
Valorous belongs to the Colossi now.
I don't get the argument of it being so complicated. By what percentage are things empowered in like 14 and live? I'm saying it's complicated compared to what we had before. You don't think so? Griffin, what's up, buddy? Welcome.
Missed last week, so here's the belated payday. I say cut everything in half as a baseline if numbers are largely going to stay the same.
Thanks a lot, man. Caliban, $5. I appreciate your thoughts on that too. Very generous, very consistently generous. Thanks a lot, man. That thing seems harder to play in the War Within, does it? If you do a 2 to 15, then it is, but who does? You just have some fun, and then it's all the same for 12. I mean, my expectation is that a 12 is going to be, like, very, very hard all of a sudden, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. Oh, we were supposed to pull that. Fuck.
Beware.
The outlier dungeons are going to be very noticeable. Yep, that's what I was saying before. This is going to put heavy amounts of stress on the tuning of the dungeon. So, I don't know. Blizzard better stand up to that challenge. They squished keystone levels so there could be more meaningful progression to just buff those lower keys, now to be slapped in the face with a steep curve in difficulty and have it all removed. That's what, like, I mean, I don't necessarily know what your point is, frankly, and that's why I don't like it. This is just such a complicated fix to a very small issue. Like, I really don't look at this as an issue. Like, it is such a small problem, and it's so obvious how you fix it, and I don't know how. I don't know why Blizzard is struggling with it so much. Dawnbreaker seems like it'll be very avoidable dungeon for pugs. Right, yeah, and that's funny, right? Because we were just talking about how potentially bad some dungeons are going to be before this, and now it's going to get really complicated. Looking at the numbers now, I'm legit scared that healers are going to be obsolete because everything is just going to delete everyone. That's what I'm saying, like, yeah. I mean, like, everything just sounds so much more difficult. A 20% modifier on top of all that, like, people already can't survive keys, right? So what is the highest key going to be next season? Like a 12? A 15, maybe? I have no idea. It just depends on how difficult the baseline is, I guess. I'm a big fan of the changes personally. Leveled the player field. Lowered the ceiling. Oh, no. They did definitely not lower the ceiling. They dramatically raised the ceiling. That's the problem.
Beware.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. My point is in agreement with you. The efforts to effort the player's actual skill. They just went back to buffing in low keys until they get in a real key to be completely unaware of the difficulty. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a mess for anybody looking to progress in that way. Censure, what's up, buddy? Welcome. Will this ruin Mythic Plus for you? I don't really care, like, one way or the other. I play the game regardless. But this is not the way I would have approached any of it now. As long as a 12 is not so difficult that you can't pug it anymore. And we can't, like, Because like what I worry about right now is that it sounds like it's going to be pretty much impossible to pug a 12 or get much higher than a 12, meaning our like progression is going to be stymied very quickly into the season. Like we're going to get to a 12 probably 2 weeks in, and then we're just never going to make any progress again. So as long as that's not true, then I don't think it really impacts me much, but I think you're overreacting to that. I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why they would do that if that wasn't their goal, right? Why do all these layers of affixes if their goal isn't to make them way harder? Like, there's no way Volcanic and Spiteful make the dungeon 20% harder, right? That's not the right number if that's their goal. It's to compensate for the lack of affixes. They said in last week's thing, high key pushers affixes don't matter, so they just removed them. Right, and then on top, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you look at it from that perspective, then they're basically saying a 12 is now a high key, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't really expect to upgrade a key that is supposed to be tuned around the top players. "12 is a high key at the start of this season too." I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but maybe. It's weird that they wouldn't start with 11 as an aside, huh? Wonder why. I think the 7 affix is great personally. Different views, I guess. But I appreciate everything here. Does favor melee and will... I guess you didn't read the post. You missed something. You missed something. Read the wrong post or something.
Beware. To the ground with you.
Give it another read. I think he thinks the arcane stuff only spawns on mobs, i.e. melee. But that's not the 7 affix. Favors melee based on the sample Zalatas affix given, where you collect falling orbs. Range would have to move, but it disappears at high key levels anyway. Okay, well that either way, yeah, that's gonna start at 2. So that was what we were all confused by. I was talking about the 7 affix with increased death punishment. And you think that's a good change? Oh, okay. I hate you.
Beware. Beware.
It makes you wonder if they're making a change like that though, because they're like unable to make timers balanced across key levels. It's actually interesting. Maybe that's why they did that one specifically, huh? Because like if you think about the last 2 seasons,
Beware.
it's 100% because of balancing. What do you mean? You mean you agree with the timer thing? Because like it seems like there's not, like maybe they're actually gonna make timers way looser now as well on top of this. Like just commit to the timer being like super loose. And so then as long as you don't have a ton of deaths, you upgrade every key until you get to 12. I wonder if they might do that. If so, that would be very nice. But I don't know that they would. The barrier timers are loose, are they? I didn't even come close to upgrading a key, so I have no idea.
Beware.
The timers have been like pretty much 6 out of 8 dungeons have been very loose recently. And it makes me wonder if that's even an error, maybe. Like, they didn't do that on purpose. But now that it's been like that, they're seeing it like, let's just do it that way on purpose. That mirrored when somebody woke them. It makes me wonder if maybe that's like, yeah, like a side effect and they're just going to roll with it. But yeah, like we were saying, like, all of a sudden, every single thing you fight in the dungeon is going to get way, way, way harder at 12. And on top of that, you're also going to get way more punished for deaths, which are now going to be far more likely in the situation that the 12 exists in. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like for pugging, but hopefully it won't be as hard as it sounds.
Beware.
It sounds to me like we're going to like go into a world where we're now like pugging Mythic Raid, where everything is tuned in a state where it should kill you very easily. And you have to play perfect to not get killed by it. When I read those changes, that's my first thought. It's like, this is now going to be like, there's not any breaks. You don't ever have a break in the entire dungeon. Every single thing is going to try to kill you constantly. And you have to play perfectly. And if you don't play perfectly, you get punished even further than you used to. So it's just going to become impossible to pug. Like, there's going to be less people pugging it too on that. Like, whether or not you can do it is not even the major issue. We removed the crappy affix. Here's our crazy idea on what you wanted instead. That's what I said in the video. It's like a fucking monkey's paw situation. This is the results when you ask for shit that Blizzard does not want to do or feel like lines up with their goals. This is their results. Some like overly complicated solution to the problem that doesn't even really exist in my eyes. I agree, if we stay in the survival meta, the one-shots are going to start earlier. Like, they're gonna start the second you get into 12, it sounds like to me, yeah. I already have people... In fact, that is Need More Pants. Isn't he the person who just said this in a video the other day? That he's doing low keys and people are being one-shot? So, like, I already have people saying that people are getting killed in sub-10s without their control of their health. Obviously, that's mostly being under-geared, I'd imagine, but... It's the definition of reading between the lines when no text is present. Now people are crying about the increased death penalty. Oh, I mean, I'm on that list. That is the worst thing I've ever heard them say out loud about Mythic Plus. That is such a terrible idea. The only way, like I just said, the only way I'd be fine with it is if they make it so timers are 15% looser. Whatever, you know, 10% looser, whatever you want to say to be commensurate. If they make the timers far looser and the only time you will ever not upgrade a key is if you have tons of death, then I'm fine with that change. But if it's going to be the way it currently is, on top of everything being way, way harder, that it's just that's it. Like, pugging is just done. Like, there's no way you're going to succeed in Pug World anymore. Like, look at that guy. That guy just got one shot by a 14 on an unavoidable mechanic. What does that look like in the new system? That was me, and I think people not popping their defensives and being low 500 item levels. Right, yeah, I mean, that's... Obviously, it's a gearing issue because I don't think anybody's getting... The Andes that wanted a fix remove never even pushed high keys enough for them to matter. I don't know. Yeah, it's like I don't know how to feel about that conversation because Blizzard's trying to like spin it as if it's like the top players saying it, and I don't watch or listen to the top players talk about shit, so I don't really know what's gonna happen there. Blizzard literally jumping to conclusions or fixes. Is that? You can absolutely get one shot in 7 to 8s if your gear is lower. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that discussion today, but this is gonna make some groups hard stuck at the level where Tyran and 4 is both active. Maybe, but that's like 7 or what level is that? 10? I don't know. It's like pretty low. I don't think it's like gonna be a big issue. You'll be able to outgear that part. If you want to punish death, then you make it so everybody gets a stacking buff every 5 seconds that make you do 1% more damage when you die. You drop it. That's even more complicated. Deaths are already, like I said in the video, I'm sure not many people watched it because I published it right as I started the stream, but deaths are already overly complicated. Like, they don't need any more punishment. A death is an incredible morale dis boost, or whatever you'd say. Like, it's a credible morale hit. It's the most punishing thing you can do, is die in a key. There doesn't need to be time. I've been advocating for the removal of the timer on the deaths for really since Legion. It doesn't need to be there. It's simply there to protect against people doing death skips and making them a bigger pill to swallow. That's the only reason they're there in my eyes. Like, I don't know maybe what Blizzard's thoughts are on it, but it seems to me that that would be the only reason they're there. And it's pretty frustrating that that's the choice they made. Death timer wasn't even in the first like 5 months of Legion. Was it not? I don't remember that being the case, but either way. What if they added checkpoint after every boss to go with the 15 seconds? I mean, that should be, again, that should just be baseline. I think that should be how every dungeon is regardless, but it got changed at the same time they made Sated a thing. Not resetting with Sated. To my recollection, that was with Legion's launch, but maybe not. I like how they finally made an affix that buffs the players, and we won't even have it. That's what I'm saying. That was the thing that really pissed me off about that post. It's like, wow, this sounds fucking awesome. I'm excited to try this. Oh, just kidding. I guess I'll have to play alts or something. Like, I don't know. Just bad. It's just all around. I don't really like any of this. But whatever, doesn't really matter. Less timings will be more static. Yeah, less timings and routing will be easier to do. That's one positive of it for sure. When nothing changes week to week, everything stays the same, so there shouldn't be any issue. But on the like opposite, on the pessimistic view, like a lot of the times we get away with routing that maybe isn't optimal because I can just be like, well, it's a tyrannical key, bro. Don't worry about it, you know? That's not going to be the case anymore. I'm concerned that the orbs raining from the sky, the rookery is vertical. Cinderbrew and stone vaults have low ceilings. Oh, really? It's probably not going to matter. The ceiling isn't going to be relevant. It's just going to be a swirl on the ground for a few seconds. This is 100% a high key community want. They all wanted this. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And it sounds like it's going to impact the medium key community, which is really unfortunate. They're making tanking even more challenging and giving the DPS more reason to blame the tank if they can't get the mobs out of the orbs. Again, that's only in the low keys, so I don't know. This is a hard conversation to have now all of a sudden, right? Like, now we have to have two different conversations on this. We have to specify which version of the game we're talking about, basically. Except for the +7, this is a great change. I mean, I like the change for low keys, but I'll never interact with them, so it's like a bad change. Like, it's like a tease, you know? I'm excited about that part, but I'll probably not even really interact with them past the first 2 weeks. They're making tanking that if a pug steals the haste buff from my breath frost DK, I'll alt F4. Let's not pretend high key pushes made anything worse for low keys. Well, I'm talking about medium keys. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It seems very argumentative anymore, man. Hard to have these conversations when people are constantly just replacing whatever I'm saying with whatever they're hearing. Making tanking more challenging on low keys makes it difficult for people to tank. Right, but the content isn't challenging enough for it to matter, in my opinion. Like the pressure of tanking doesn't start until you start doing keys where the timer and the survival of the tank is paramount. And that's definitely not going to be sub 10, that's for sure. Unless, again, they make radical changes to the tuning of everything. They probably will make changes to the middle level keys after they test this. Nothing is set in stone until the expansion is launched. I mean, nothing's ever set in stone at any point. Like, things will probably change in the middle of the expansion, too. But, okay, so that's the problem. We need that pat still, right? But, yeah, the problem is just that it's now going to be so different from what we have now that I think it's going to be really complicated. Watch your video. Honestly, think that the next season and expansion is doomed. What the? I'm sure we go that far, but it's difficult that they're making it so overly complicated to solve a very minor problem.
Stay your hand or taste the flame. Beware.
What do the color icons mean? What do you mean? You mean in the chat? It should say if you hover over it, like it's a different amount of time subscribed or something. What is going on with my weak words now, man? It's like my weak words don't work again. It's like we're on the beta, the weak words don't work again. I'm pretty worried about that. Oh, you can't see it on mobile, gotcha.
Have some trinkets.
Yeah, I think if you like hover over the icon, it tells you how long you've been a member for. I can't remember the exact break points, but like, yeah, it should be like 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 4 years, I think is how it works. Did I see the new blue post confirms both Tyrant and Fort will be active? It confirms a lot more than that, but yeah, that's part of it.
An embarrassment of riches.
In terms of this key, looks like we just needed to be more aggressive in that third boss area. I don't know. Had a lot of wipes in that area, but if we did pull it off, we would have been having enough time to upgrade it.
Have some trinkets. Feel the burn.
4 deaths and a deplete. Yeah, Niltheris. Welcome to it. There's pretty much every key we do, we can't upgrade this key even when we finish it. What else? It's way too close to be changing any things that are so experimental. Yeah, I guess that's a concern, but I'm impressed that they got it done as quick as they did, considering it was only just talked about last week. I guess it depends on when the actual interview they did was published. Would also have been an option to pull the boss and add the trash once the boss is low. Well, we needed... I don't know that I would have been able to get the route. It's okay. Soon 4 deaths will be minus 1 minute. I'm saying all the top left side, but not kill everything. Right. %50 more damage? Metro, I submitted. It was buffed. Oh, really? When? What kind of comment is that? Maybe it's your first time on WoW. I understand. It's fine. Sanguine is gone though, so I'm happy with these changes. It's like every affix is gone, yeah. That's so funny. Sanguine is gone. It's like every affix. Chains deal no damage, but increase damage taken of mobs by 50%. Yeah, I don't know when they changed that. What is your point? Yeah, it was 25% at one point, right? Okay. Good chat. Anyway, what else? I want to believe that this points to a more DPS-based meta where DPS done is important like in Shadowlands. I have zero faith that Blizzard can get tuning correct with the rotating dungeons. Yeah, that, like this just, we're going back to that. This just compounds like all my previous fears of all the different issues with Mythic Plus. So hopefully I'll be wrong. It's always the tank's fault, even when the Hallelujah Mages, who claim to do single target, does no single target. This guy's mentality is hilarious. You're lucky I use my abilities to stop casters. It's like, I'm really impressed with that, man. Thanks for playing your character. Really impressive. But I mean, like, one way or the other, it's like, I don't know how to upgrade that key at this point, so if anybody has any real suggestions, let me know. I've tried everything, I feel like, in there, and it doesn't seem to work. Was he saying there were 3 Thaumaturges in your first poll? Correct, yeah. Those changes are going to be massive and Mythic Plus. He played that poll way above average pug level, though, to be fair. Okay. I mean, the average doesn't really matter in the key we're doing, obviously. You only get who you get. Can't replace them. Alright, so that's week 10. It is Fortified, Volcanic, and Spiteful. That's pretty rough, to be honest. That's a ton of stops to manage. 2 would have been the normal limit there. How do you guys pull the first pull of the dungeon then? Same as you? I mean, yeah, I don't see how you would do it any differently. Yeah, the third one was just chained in because it's a patrol. There's not really any way to stop that unless you just don't fight the way I fight them. Anyway. Guy talking about failing 14. It's like, bro, you were in the fucking key too. You did 125k instead of 100k. We would have upgraded it. Guy's not even 3k. Oh, this isn't alt though, I guess. Okay. Well, that's better at least. I don't know what to do about that though. Like literally that took me like 5 weeks to get that route going, and now people are saying that route's bad, so I don't know what to do. I mean, yeah, to me that is clearly a DPS issue. But the only thing I would say that I would want to change is be more aggressive in the area on the third boss. And we kind of fucked up the pulling order in the second like hallway there. But other than that, I feel like that went exactly as I would have expected to. I thought you went in for the pat plus the 2 inside. Yeah, usually the pat adds to that pull, but I don't know any way to stop that. Hugging has become everyone needs to improve, but not the one saying it. Yeah, sadly. Playing more chains can be a better route, but that is if CDs are aligned to the chains. I don't think they would have happened there. Right, like I don't think it makes much of a difference to have 2 extra chains on the trash that is the hardest anyway in the dungeon. But we'll try it again. We could try like the route. I don't know. At this point, I just don't even care. Darth, what's up, buddy? If you got better at healing, our guild would still be alive. What's up, buddy? Welcome. How you doing? But you see, like, what's going on in this key, right? Like, now imagine it's... Everything's got 20% more health and does 20% more damage. It's pretty much going to be impossible to pug above 12, I feel like. Parent life, oh yeah. Third boss area sucks, by the way. The only decent pull there is the one after the mini boss. Everything else just sucks at different levels. Yep. Random question, can you show the damage done to Thermaturge? I don't know how to do that, sorry. If you can tell me how to do that, I'll do it, but... With Fort and Tyran being in the same key, it might be easier routing-wise because you won't have to have 2 different routes. Well, I don't have 2 different routes as it is, but... Yeah, like, theoretically, that should eliminate that. The problem is now there's going to be less wiggle room to the route since there's only ever going to be one route. Like, one routing type. So people are probably going to demand more from it. But, I don't know. We'll see. That's the least of my concern at this point. I can't imagine how comfy it must be not to play tank. Yeah, seriously, man. How easy the game is from the DPS perspectives compared to this. Where literally like, a couple weeks ago, I got flamed for the route, and I changed everything I do in the dungeon to compensate for it, and now I'm getting flamed for the new route. Meanwhile, the DPS just sit back and press their fucking, like... I mean, like, come the fuck on, bro. Like... Guy does 360k overall, then just walks away from the dungeon insulting me. Like, God, man, I don't know. It's fucking sad. Let's start the BH hunter discussion again. Well, I'd rather discussion about the hunters in this dungeon, but... Details, damage done to enemy. Okay, let's see. Damage. Don't even know that that's an option. Let's see. Oh yeah, but I watched Oppenheimer. That's probably one of the best films I've ever watched. Damage done to enemy is not on there, sorry. You mean enemy damage taken, I guess. Thermaturge, here we go. Hopefully you can see that. It doesn't seem to like go up or you can't click or anything. I actually don't think the hunters in Nelth are that bad. I never thought they were bad either until that key a couple weeks ago. Mage's job is the Thermaturge there. I mean, dude, that's every key we do. Like, what are some other examples? What about that Firebird? What's the name of that mob? I don't even know. Apex Blazewing, here it is. Fucking 4 million damage to the highest health target in the pack. Like, what is the point of the spec? I just don't know why anybody plays that spec or why people invite that spec. This is every single one. Like, I've never seen one that did well. Got to do 14 Bracken on my Fire Mage the other night. Holy cow, suddenly did real damage. Felt amazing. What do you mean? Like it was easier to play in the higher key, is that what you mean? Nice tank damage prio there. Nice tank damage prio damage. 540k overall. Was stuck in the 300s and 12s. Oh yeah. Yeah, it gets easier to do higher damage the higher up you go, obviously. Yeah, just play Ret. I've never seen how Ret perform poorly. It's like the opposite of Fire Mage. Every Fire Mage sucks and every Ret plays well. Just probably because of how difficult the specs are for both sides. Rep benefits from every chain because they always have their CDs up. Oh yeah.
These beasts are fierce.
The floor on red is so high. Yep.
Show your strength and
You mean
cut
low,
them
right?
down.
I don't really, floor and ceiling, I never understand these words really, I guess. Floor means how easy it is to play at the lowest competency level, right? Or like, I guess at a baseline competency level. And then ceiling means how,
You have done
like what the
good work,
maximum
but
it can
danger
achieve is,
still
right?
looms. Will you
I don't know.
come to the aid of the forces here, champion?
Ret and BM are the easiest in the game. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
I believe our goal is to be alive.
Floor is the minimum expected damage.
Be honored to have your continued support in our
Okay.
efforts to secure
So you're saying like the floor of the actual DPS, not the player playing it. Meaning like even if you suck, it's still really, really easy to do good damage. Low floor means it's easy to be mediocre at. Okay, so yeah, you would say low floor in that case, right? High floor means it would be hard to be mediocre at. Or if you're mediocre, you would be really bad at it, basically. Floor can either be DPS if bad or the level of skill that is needed to do okay DPS. Yeah, that's what I guess I was confused by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The floor of the class is really strong and does damage, so the baseline of the class is much higher than others. Yeah, that's well explained there. Thank you for doing that. That makes sense. I'm kind of baffled that a lot of people I've talked to about the Mythic Plus changes are really liking them. I mean, the death penalty time, I don't know how anybody could like that, but... Yeah, I mean, the changes are them addressing something that people have asked for, just in a very awkward and clumsy way, I feel like. So hopefully people will enjoy it, and it will be the end of this conversation, and we don't have to keep worrying about what changes every season now. But I have a feeling that it will not be a permanent fix. I'm sure there'll be some new issue. I like them a lot besides the death penalty change, right? It's a shame that we lose the fun affix. That's the thing that bothered me too, yeah. I can finally heal my sanguine PTSD. Plus you're doing 20 keys now, take what the top guys are saying with a pinch of salt. Yeah, I won't be listening to what they have to say about that, but I'm sure they have some things to say. Are they? Oh, they're probably happy, I guess, right? Is that what you're saying? They're probably like ecstatic. To some degree, that's a good thing, even for regular players. Since there's so much of the discourse led by them, even if it's not relevant to the people having the discourse. Like, people just go to them for their opinions on things, and they don't care to give a nuanced opinion. They just give whatever their top player opinion is, so everybody just mimics it. So at least if they're happy, then it should mean the stability of the system is more cohesive. It just feels backwards to me that the lower difficulty levels get a buff when the higher ones don't. I agree. Like, it's all fucked up. It's all way too complicated for what it is, but we'll see how it goes. I would not expect that to be the last time we read one of those posts. I would expect there to still be a bunch of changes coming. If they're happy, there will be less complaining from the wannabes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's like a good thing in its own way. I think the major changes are done, but we'll see tuning. I mean, why? You don't think that like the last round of changes was major and that was surprising that that got changed? It seems like they're basically just like knee-jerking like crazy. So if there's any new complaints, so you're just gonna massively change something to compensate for that complaint. Stepped away for the second, but Rhett was my first character. Stopped playing it when they introduced Holy Power, though. Oh yeah. Everyone reacted to those changes badly, and everyone loves these. All right. Yeah, maybe that's all you need. And by everyone, you mean all the top players, because obviously there's been tons of people in here who haven't loved them. That's the problem at its core, I guess. Trying to please two portions of players with the same change is not really conducive to making a good game. It would be bad if people are hard stuck at 12s like you fear, but that would be bad for 99% of the player base. That's my biggest concern, yeah. That 12s are just going to be impossible to pug. Like, you know, if they did that change right now, this 14 would get, like, so much fucking harder. The reaction in the stream don't normally go with the majority of people. Why do you think that is? I'd like to see a world where doing, like, a +8 was pumping. Oh, yeah. I don't think that will happen, but it's probably going to be close. If the death timer one stays, hopefully it at least keeps the people that die all the time in the lower key level. Only positive I can think of. I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out, I guess. Reading Wowhead comments, people are saying high keys will be easier now. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, happy to hear that stance on it. I don't understand how they would think that. Like, to me, affixes make no impact on the key whatsoever. At no point have I ever been like, fuck, I don't think we can do this because of the affixes. But I am constantly like, fuck, I don't think we can do this because I'm just getting my ass kicked over and over again. I think a bigger portion of the Mythic Plus player base doesn't go higher than 10s. I think that's because a lot of people just farm it for the vaults. You got to take those people out of the conversation. You don't need to be worrying about people who are intentionally stopping their progression, you know? That's not what Mythic Plus is supposed to be about. They're just there farming gear from it. It'd be like if Arena was super popular for gear, but nobody actually cared about their score in Arena. Like, that's not... You don't make systems for people who don't actually engage with what the purpose of the system is. That's why I tried to explain in that video, but I guess I didn't really get a very good, like... articulation of it off, because a lot of people seem to not understand what I was saying. The death timer thing is whatever, you lose more time in a key, just dealing with the affixes. Right, well, I'm not comparing it to that. Just comparing it in a psychological way to what the pugging world has going on with it right now. Harder from a numbers standpoint initially, sure, but once people get used to it and there are not extra affixes blowing people up randomly, it becomes easier. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think there are no affixes blowing people up. Like the average key is gonna get way harder now, right? Because there's not gonna be an affix week like this where it's super easy as well. It's just that it is not how Blizzard designs the game, and also not what the vocal minority of players say they want. Right, well, I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, it's not about whether or not they agree with me. I'm just saying my point of that, like, clearly there's a lot of people who don't actually care about progression and only do keys week to week for dungeon, or for gear from the dungeons. So there could be 100 affixes or no affixes. They're still going to do it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really get why you worry about making the life of a guy who's done 8 dungeons a week, no matter what is happening, different. Like, he's going to do it no matter what. He's just using the system for the gear. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, his feedback is not going to change. 12 miss and you wipe to the first invis dead key. Yeah, well, yeah, that's not a good example. It should be dead, though, if you full wipe to a boss, right? Well, so that's what I'm hoping that is going to change. I'm hoping that the timers will now be just committed to being more lenient. And we'll have, like, a better situation here where the only way that, like, you are expecting to fail keys is by having a lot of deaths. This can actually be a positive. If they do this in tandem, then it can be great. Because what this will do is it will force people to have to get better at not dying. And that means they're going to have to do more than just DPS. You know what I mean? So this is a good thing. If that happens, it could be a benefit to everybody. But they've not said they're doing it, so we're just assuming, and, you know, what they say about assuming. It would be interesting to see a breakdown of progression keys. What percentage are pug and what percentage are full 5-stack voice comms? Well, it's obviously going to be wildly more pugs, right? Which is not necessarily any indictment on the system. It's just, obviously, it's easier to pug than it is to... Like, nobody's going to form a 5-stack for a 10, you know what I mean? You would just pug that no matter what. Pugging is just about convenience, I think, at the end of the day. I'd hate to see the Discord required 12s. Probably going to come back, yeah. I mean, if I'm right about the difficulty, it's probably coming back. It was a thing that was pretty common back in the day, in the early days of pushing in like a pug world, so. Maybe the death timer is connected to the defensive creep, and rather than removing it, they are making it the player's responsibility to use defensives and punishment. Yeah, like, it could play out this way, and then that's fine. Like, then if it is, like, however it happens, if it ends up the net result being that players are now forced to care a lot more about their health, and if they do that, keys are equally successful to how they used to be, yeah, we just, like, can't actually even get this route to happen anyway. I think we just go back to the old route and just say fuck people. Like, I can't get people to stop pulling that pack. I don't know why that's happening so frequently. Wait, what just happened? Did I just pick that up when I had the debuff? Is that also changed? Just imagine DPS dying and people actually playing the DPS, blaming the DPS. Right, that's what I'm saying. If that is the net result of this, then we're fine with it. But it's gonna take it's a pretty big leap to assume that that could happen, because they had a shot to explain why they put that in, and they didn't even say a thing about it really.
Beware. Beware. Beware.
I think the cap on keys is gonna be like 17 to 18 instead of 20s, and I'm okay with that. You're okay with not keys that you don't even interact with? I don't care about that at all. What do you think your average keystone is going to be after these changes? Probably a better point of discussion.
Beware.
Dawnbreaker will be brutal. One orb doesn't get baited in the proper direction, and now it's 45 seconds plus time writing back. Yeah, that dungeon's definitely going to be one of the hardest ones, no matter what. If you go based on Dragonflight Season 1, most people will be doing 12s as their prog and high keys. Like, you mean like the best players in the world, or like us? I think it's going to be easy for 11s and depleted 12s for me. Yeah, that's the way it sounds to me. Like, yeah. Us. Well, that's what I'm saying, because Season 1, like, if you look at Season 1, 12 was already... That was already my highest key, wasn't it? Yep. We had a couple 23s, and otherwise it was 22s the whole way. So now it seems like it's just going to be like 11s are a joke, and like maybe we get a couple 12s upgraded, but we'll never really get past that. And based on that, I would expect it to go like 2 weeks to get to 12, and then 20 weeks to get to 13. Which, that's just, I mean, that's not even remotely fun sounding, but we'll see how it plays out. It depends if I push for real. I'm just saying, like, today. Like, compared today. If the changes came today, what would change for you? Thank you for making the YouTube video highlighting that super toxic group, showing that that's not the correct way and that should not be allowed. It's crazy that I thought we were going to talk about that all day today. That video got like 20k views in 2 days, and somehow it got upended. That's crazy. I'm glad that you appreciate that, because that is still more important to me than anything else in Mythic Plus. And if people like that didn't exist, all of this shit we're talking about now wouldn't even be on my mind. If I believed that every key I entered would have 5 people who care about getting better and trying their best in each key, then none of this shit would even matter to me. We wouldn't be here talking about this. Because like if it was just me in the dungeon, I would love these changes. Because now it means like a 12 is actually hard, and you're going to have to get better at it, you know, no matter what. But because I don't believe that I can trust the groups that I'm joining to actually work on getting better, it doesn't feel like as satisfying as it could be. Whereas if they just had the fun seasonal type of fix for all the dungeons, it would probably be a much better experience. According to your chat, it was late week 4 when you got your first 20. Your chart. Right, season 1 was... What do you mean by bringing that up? Season 1 was worse than the other ones, is all I'm saying. To me. I would push higher because weeks would be consistent. Yeah, I just meant in terms of the difficulty level that you're at right now. You're basically one of the people who don't even try to push on weeks that aren't perfect. We probably won't get to 12s as fast as you'd think. Yeah, no, you're right. Just because season 1s are always harder to gear up in. But either way, it's going to be a magnitude of weeks, where the other situation is probably a magnitude of months. But that's not necessarily that different from now. It's just... I don't know. It would feel weird to hit your like theoretical cap within the first month of the season. And for better and for worse, everybody benefits from the push week, like a little bit. Like occasionally there are weeks that make certain dungeons easier right now, like, and you can get the score that you need from that week and feel accomplished. I didn't say that, but there are less good players trying on Sanguine weeks than on this week, for instance. It makes it more punishing to miss a good week. I don't know. Too many things to think about with this conversation. It's hard to get my head straight on it all. It's basically just going to be totally different. Like, that's the only thing I'm sure of. It's going to be completely different than it is right now. So hopefully it's for the best. We'll see.
Beware.
I will be here one way or the other, though. Will Dawnbreaker be everyone's lowest key in this format? Probably, yeah. But just look at Ultimate. It's 3 to 4 levels key lower for some people. Right, no, there's certainly plenty of imbalance now. I mean, but I think that's more of a testament to the rotating dungeons not being well done. Like, if they didn't rotate the dungeons, especially given this new system of change, then Dawnbreaker might suck for one season, but it will gradually get better tuning as the time goes on. Whereas now, if there's like, you know, we had Uldaman, then we have, you know, repeat offenders like Fall, then Uldaman, now Dawnbreaker, like, it wouldn't happen. It would, the season would get more and more balanced each time. Is Warlock's a beast? Oh, really? I didn't even really notice. Totally, like, just totally focus on this conversation at this point. Beta is down, likely new build up soon. Yep. Hopefully build today and testing tomorrow. I'd be fine with that, but it might not be till Thursday again. I will be there no matter what, whatever day it is. I feel like the new affix system will lessen the tank cognitive load, but it's just more gear dependent with the compounding percentages. I don't think it'll have much of an impact on that. I said before that it's going to make like routing less variable, but I already don't like think about affixes that much with routing. It's more just about pulling. Like I don't change the actual route based on the affixes. Sometimes I just be like, all right, we won't pull this pack into that pack kind of thing, you know? So that is lessening it, yes, but it's not a substantial amount. Like the actual content is 90% of the load. For a different perspective, timing is a big thing for push weeks and bad weeks though. Having a full weekend to play with your boys once per month and that being a bad week hurts motivation. You're right, but I don't like, I don't know, it sounds stupid probably, but like I don't view those people as like, I don't know. I don't have really any care for people who don't play actively. If you don't play every week of the season, then you're just like doing it wrong. Like that's just not how the game's supposed to be played. So if you're experiencing difficulties because of that, then you know it's unfortunate. But like I don't care to see changes made for that reason. All the affixes are meant to matter, and they're not currently mattering. So they should have changed that more than just get rid of them. They basically designed a very good system in Legion and then let the pressure of the community and things like Raider IO score and shit totally transform what was good about it into what was bad about it. And that's where we're at right now, which is unfortunate. Because at one point, the rotating affixes was one of my favorite parts of the dungeon. Turns out my crew heavily agrees with the idea for IO score being a weekly thing. Yeah, I mean, that seems obvious to me. I don't really see many points against it, to be honest. But I guess that discussion's done if they're going to get rid of the weekly changes anyway. You have 4 minutes ahead of the last dungeon with more deaths. Must be the route, yeah. It's not bad. You're saying you don't think people who can't play all weeks equally should be given consideration. Yeah, pretty much. Sounds rude, I get it, but it's just how it has to be. Like, the affixes change weekly, so if you can't experience the weekly changes regularly, then you're just not on the level of them changing weekly enough to matter, you know? Like, you can get lucky or unlucky in that situation, is what I'm saying. It's not something they should design around. Deaths make the right do more damage. Maybe that's why this key's going well. Isn't it funny? Without a fire mage, the keys are going faster. I mean, we don't have a fire mage technically, but... Alright, so we're going to try to be more aggressive here. This is really only very dangerous for me, I feel like, so... As long as I don't die, we're alright. It would be only difficult for me if everybody actually kicks stuff. But. Our group does this pull too. I used to do this every single time until recently in the season when people started dying to it. And now since we barely upgraded that, or since we just missed that last key, I figured we got to go back to doing it. But I don't know, it just seems like it's too dangerous. How much would one need to play to be considered an active player? Just weekly. Some dungeons weekly. Doesn't need to be like 20 dungeons a week even, just they experience all the affixes equally. To give their opinion and expect their opinion to be listened to on affixes, that's all I'm saying. And I'm saying it that way because there's a lot of people who intentionally avoid the affixes too, which I have no respect for. If you don't at least try to progress each week, then you're just not really doing it the way the game is set up to be done. Lots of wasted time here deliberating whether we're done or not. But if everybody just... Okay, I guess we're done. But you at least agree that some affixed combos are just significantly less fun, but you're in it for the challenge and don't care about the fun. No, the purpose of the affix is there to be challenging, like you and I said on the dungeon stuff. Fun is secondary to that, yeah. Like the fun, if the fun for you is not succeeding and getting better over the long period of time, then you're still doing it wrong in my eyes. Like there's people who golf who just go and just smack the golf ball with the club and they miss 20 out of 21 times, but they may still have fun. But those people are not allowed to play in a tournament. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like we have a different expectation here from the content. If you're just going to fuck around, then and you don't care about actually getting better, then yeah, I could see that conversation about affixes mattering more. But if you're not doing dungeons competitively weekly with the goal of getting better, then you're doing Mythic Plus in a way that is not conducive with you giving affixed feedback. Like you're not in the position to know what is and isn't wrong with this system, so you can't really have feedback on it and offer it. And that's basically the problem with the game right now. Like the people who are giving the feedback are not the ones that it's hurting, and that's a big issue in my eyes. This has been an issue since Cataclysm. People have been asking, like basically asking for the game to get easier and easier, and that's not good for anybody. Fun is secondary. You lost me, to be honest. I mean, it is. I mean, that's just how it works, right? Like, if you want to make the difficulty of the dungeon paramount, then you can't just rely on everything being super fun and your brain fucking dopamine hits every 5 seconds, right? Because if that was the case, we just have Torghast powers. Like I said that this weekend. Like, if that was the case, we would just have Torghast powers. Every single time you kill an enemy, you get more powerful. That, like, how else would you make it more fun, right? Like, what would your ideal most fun situation be in dungeons? No matter what you answer, the answer is going to be you're either admitting that you don't care about the difficulty of the dungeon, or you're admitting that the dungeon still needs to be difficult, and at that point you got to concede to where we're at. Like, because if the dungeon's difficulty is not the number one reason for the content, then it's just not competitive content. And that's clearly what they're aiming. I mean, to me, that's clearly what they're aiming for with Mythic Plus. So the fun of it is supposed to come from the competitive nature of it and the progression of it, not the gameplay of it. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be worried about the actual fun of individual death strikes. It should be about what the total experience looks like, you know? Sanguine and Bowstring are not fun. Scaling difficulty is already a challenge to grow to. Harsher punishment for failed mechanics is already a challenge. That's not it. Yeah, you didn't say anything that changed my mind there. Those affixes not being fun is not related to the conversation at all. They weren't added to be fun. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They were added to add difficulty and variety weekly. So their goal was met. Could they have removed those affixes and put other ones in that were less unfun? Yes. But if they do that, you will literally never have, you'll just have new affixes every season. Because everybody just keeps complaining about a new affix, it seems. Like, there was one point where Sanguine was considered the best affix. Are you aware of that? In Legion, Sanguine was a push week. That's how far off we have gotten from where we started. And why this system is just, like, the community's feedback is actually making the system worse season after season, it sounds like. Because they can't ever iterate on what is working. They have to just keep changing what may be working to keep up with people's demands. Right now, it feels like I have very little control as a healer on whether my party lives or dies, and unless I'm running with my static, I'll get blamed for the majority's misplays resulting in deaths. Yeah, I don't see. I've never seen a healer actually. Like, it's maybe like once a week we see a healer actually get blamed. That just might be like a low-key issue, honestly, man. I do agree that if I were balancing a game, I wouldn't consider the opinion of someone who only plays 1 weekend a month. Yeah, it's like, that's all I was trying to say. It sounds rude, so I was trying to not be super on the nose about it. But, like, you know, for example, like my Pokemon game, the purpose of it is difficulty before anything. And I offered people to play it, and one guy said, like, I can't get past the first gym leader. You should change this. It's like, no, just don't play the game. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, that's the game's purpose. Like, you don't align with the difficulty of it, then don't play it. And that's, in a nutshell, what we have going on here in Mythic Plus. And I think it's more pervasive than it sounds, because I think a lot of the people saying what they're saying are simply saying, oh, this is the wrong season, are simply saying what they're saying because they heard somebody else say it. Like I said before, like the influencers who are the top players, their points are valid, and I get their points, even though I think it's trickling down to hurt the system. But the people at the level, even like at my level or even below it, who are talking about affixes, it's like, bro, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, affixes have gotten easier and less invasive every fucking season for 5 years now. It's just stop, dude. Just, can you give up? Like, can you stop talking about this? You're ruining it. You're making a system that worked not work by giving feedback on it. At one point it worked fine, and it's just gotten worse since then. To the point now where we have to do some like convoluted ass 6 affix combination just to make it work. Now we have to have 4 affixes for low keys, and then they get removed, and now there's this new thing. It's like, oh man, it's just such a joke. It's so sad that it's got to go this way. Anyway, another Niltheris failed. When do you think Mythic Plus was at its best? I don't ever think it got, like, it's fine. Like, I still love it. The changes we're talking about are like, take it from a 99 to a 98 in my eyes. Like, Mythic Plus is the best content in the game and endgame for me. These changes don't really impact me in that way. But it's still like, if you compare prior to now, it's still worse. Just so little worse that I just don't care. Like, I'm not gonna not play the game is what I'm saying. And no way could they remove, like, no matter what they do, they won't stop me from enjoying Mythic Plus. Unless they start giving you score for disbanding keys or something like that. Like, unless they make my life as a pug even harder. I haven't played for a very long time, but I remember Sanguine and Legion was quite easy to deal with. Has Sanguine changed that much over the expansion? Nope, not at all. It's become even easier to deal with than it was in Legion. It has not in any way been made harder. That's what I'm saying. They basically nerfed every affix in the game to the point where Sanguine is now one of people's least favorite. When at one point it was the easiest affix in the game and everybody liked seeing the Sanguine weeks. So you see how this like revolving feedback loop has created a situation that is like irrevocably, like, it can't be improved upon now. Because people continue to ask the game to get easier and easier and less effort on their part, and they still complain after they get the results. That's why I said before at the very beginning of this conversation, I hope you guys are happy, because where can we go from here now? Like, this is clearly their response to getting what people have been asking for, and it's a fucking joke. It's a terrible solution to this problem. So you guys better like it. Because if you don't, what's the next step? It's going to be like, they're going to start... Like, how could it get any more complicated? You know what I mean? Like, it better work. Because I don't know how it can get any better at this point. Why did the paladin leave the group, then whisper you asking you why you left? That was me asking him. I don't even remember a time Sanguine was a push week. In Legion, yeah. Go back to the Legion affixes. I feel like we did way more damage in Legion compared to the average trash pack. Maybe. I don't know that for sure. I also missed your comment. I hate Sanguine and Bolstering in certain dungeons, so I'll opt for other keys intentionally and play significantly less that week. I find that some parts are needlessly punishing. Gotcha. And that's why I recommend a weekly score. Because then you won't feel like you're getting punished. You'll just feel like you're progressing. Right? Like, if every affix is not giving you the exact same score, then you won't feel like the comparison of the weeks is detrimental to your fun. You'll just be like, all right. It'd be just like dungeons, right? Like, if somehow you only got score from any dungeon at a 15, you would just do as your vault only, right? But because they give score from different dungeons, because they're looked at as different landscapes, you care about each dungeon, even though one's harder than the others. But if they did the same thing with affixes, like, it would be the same situation. People wouldn't be like, I'm only going to do the easy affixes. They would be like, I'm going to do all of them and try to get the best I can at each of them. That would make me play those weeks more. Not that I love the idea, but it works. And that's how and that's what I'm saying. Like, that would work way better than what they're doing. Anyway, a fixed score. That's interesting. Yeah, I've been talking about this since BFA. Me and Siler paid some guy like $550 to make a website to try to rival Raider.io and make a score system on it. And the guy just took our money and left. He never even made a website. But yeah, at one point I was serious about it. I wanted to try to make a three-pronged score system. A score for progression, which is what we have now. A score for affixes, basically a weekly score, something that rotates every time the affixes change. And that would not go away. Some reason a lot of people have recently heard this and they think it would just reset every week. That's not what I'm talking about. It would just be per affix set. So the second time it comes around, you'd still have it and it'd still be viewable. And then the third score would be a completion score. So like we have now on Raider.io add-on, where it shows I've done 35 or 63, 10 to 14s. There would be some score there for that. To be like, oh, look, I'm actually getting better in that way too. And my reasoning for that is like, does anybody sit here and say seriously that if a guy did a single key on a 15 and a guy did 20 keys on a 15, that the guy who did the single key is the better pick? No, of course not. Like, everybody gets better every time they do something, right? But that's not reflected in the score whatsoever, and it doesn't make any sense. So you would think that those changes would be obvious even without all of these things being forced. But now that people are forcing them to reconsider this push week versus weekly rotation of affixes, the obvious answer is staring right at, like, it's right there. Make the top players care about each week. That's all they got to do. Then the affixes don't need to be balanced. Then you'd have the same situation you have with dungeons, where people are like, oh, Uldaman's three levels lower than other dungeon. But they didn't remove Uldaman. They didn't, you know what I mean? We didn't remove Uldaman from the fucking season because of it. That's just how the season's landscape proliferates. Blizzard never makes things harder. They only like to make things easier. And that's because they are listening. You know what I mean? Nobody's asking for it to be harder. The majority of people don't want their life to be harder. I listened to a talk a long time ago about cell phones. I don't remember who it was. It was like some person from Samsung or something. And they said that if, like, it was about criticism about cell phone development. And they said if we only ever listen to the feedback that we get from our community, the only thing that would ever improve on our cell phones is our battery life. 95% of the complaints people have about the phones are battery life. Meaning that the technology in the phone would get worse. Right? Because how do you improve battery life? Make the phone use less battery. Because there's a theoretical maximum to the battery's limits based on its, like, chemical properties. So you can't make the battery life better without making the phone worse. And it was like that. I heard this in like 2014, and I was like, this is WoW. This is WoW in a nutshell. People want the game to be worse just so they can be better at it. That's exactly what we have here. People are asking for the game to just get nerfed so they don't have to suck as bad. You know what I mean? That's exactly what's happening. It's not really, this is not a bad example of it, but it's a low, like a low burning example of it, in the same way that, you know, people ask for leveling to get quicker and easier. People ask for heirlooms, things like that, that just like actually slowly erode the value of the systems that they're being implemented into, and to the point where then you look like years later and it's like, now compare leveling in Classic to leveling in Live WoW, and it's like, is that even the same fucking game? You know what I mean? Like they're not even remotely similar. And it's just like a big thing over and over and over again, where nobody ever really gets what they want. And if you talk to people today, to this day, before Mop Remix at least, to this day, people would still say leveling's too slow, even though it is like 1/20th the speed that it used to be. So those people will never be happy. Like, there's probably people who still complain about it, even though you could level a character in under 2 hours in Mop Remix. Those people now are probably complaining about not having the character on Live WoW the second they do it. You know what I mean? Like, those people aren't there complaining because they want to be happy. They're there complaining because they're stuck in this mental loop where sadness gives them pleasure. And they're out there just ruining games. Like, straight up just like fucking ruining games. Look at the shit that just happened with Elden Ring, dude. Miyazaki did a fucking interview telling all the people who said the game is too hard to shut the fuck up and get better at it. He literally said, if we made the game any easier, it would defeat the purpose of the game. That's how you make a video game. The guy knows what the purpose of his video game is, and he knows that it's popular for that reason. So all the crybabies who are refunding the fucking game they bought, who are demanding Steam give them back their $40 because the game's too hard, are getting blown the fuck out by the guy who made the game. You know what I mean? That's how it should be handled. The system has goals. Your behaviors are not living up to those goals. So just don't play it. Sorry. When did that become like, I don't know how that's not the answer to every question. People think they want a thing, but they don't really know what that will mean. That's what I said on the video I published this morning. It's a monkey's paw situation. People ask for no affixes. Now we have 10 affixes. To accomplish the goal of no affixes, we have 10 affixes. Like, what is that going to look like when you log into the dungeon? Is there really going to be fortified, tyrannical, and 20% damage buff, whatever they're calling that, all on one line? So, like, if you're new to the system, you're like, all right, 18%, 20, 25, like, you know what I mean? It's just so much needless shit. Like, that's what it looks like. When you ask for something to be removed that is core to the system, you get this convoluted bullshit. You can tell how many people never played a FromSoft game before Elden Ring. I'm sure, yeah. Elden Ring's DLC is brutal. I haven't bought it, and I probably won't, but I've been reading a lot about it, and it's actually crazy that people are demanding refunds over it. Like, what the fuck did you think you were getting? Did you play the original game? Like, I don't know how much harder it is. Apparently, it's way harder than the original game. But it's like, what did you think you were buying? I don't understand. I actually was thinking about making a video on it, but I didn't care to, since it's not related to our normal content on any of the channels. All right, what is this, Brackenite or something? I don't even know what we're doing. Mythic Plus should be the true endgame for 5-man content, endlessly scaling so you can constantly limit, test, and improve. If fun is your objective, heroics exist. That's the way I look at it, yep. I'm not sure I want leveling to be like Classic. Most people who play the game never hit max level, so I'm sure Blizzard adjusts that to catch new players. Right, I was just saying compare Classic to now, right? Like, regardless of where you would say is your best case, it's obviously moved past that, right? Like, now it's just a farce. Like, leveling is not even remotely challenging, even naked. It's absurdly quick to the fact that you can do it in one day very easily now. Like, it's just not what it started as. The purpose of leveling was supposed to be a journey and part of the game, and now it's a side story. Now it's something you do, and you feel like you're rushing through it just to get to the end game. I don't understand the mindset of needing to beat the DLC in 2 to 3 days. Why is it that you can spend 4 or 5 days there and likely not be another one? Oh, you mean like the fact that there isn't going to ever be another... Yeah, they pretty much said that, yeah. Well, that's just the entitlement of the world we live in now, man. That's what I'm saying. This is a unique situation. I could literally make a whole video on this. The Elden Ring situation is a unique one. Because there's no, like, PTR or discovery beforehand, a lot of people don't understand why they suck at it. There's actually a system there that's supposed to be way easier to improve at than the average FromSoft game. They made, like, a fucking genius system. I don't even remember what it's called. Something that you use at a bonfire. And people just don't know about them. So they're just, like, trying to beat the bosses naked, effectively. And they're like, this game's too hard. Fucking nerf this shit. I might have to dip halfway through, and I don't want to break your key. Oh, there you go. Can you read my 3 comments on the affix video? Yeah, we should check that out. I don't even know. I mean, why am I even doing keys at this point? I'll maybe do like one more or something, but this is kind of a waste of time. There's just too much going on to be worrying about fucking season 4 keys. Oh my god, there's so many comments. Well, that video's got a lot of views. Wow. I didn't think it would do well. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna read all these comments out loud and reply to them. Chilling in a villa in Key West. Oh, you're on vacation? Nice, man. Congrats. I'll be going on vacation in 2 weeks, so a couple things to think about there. This is now gonna be like a live reaction stream to me reading these comments. Did my chat bug out? No. One guy wrote sanguine is fine. I feel personally attacked. Reaction meta? Reacting to my own shit, yeah. Just finishing watching that video too. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Super changes by Blizzard. They pretty much hit it spot on. The only thing that should be changed is that Xel'Tad's Guile shouldn't affect bosses. Tyrannical already makes them long and with even more HP. I see people are already complaining that the changes aren't going to be what they want. The double scaling sounds super problematic for all content in dungeons. Like, I don't know why. Yeah, like, it just sounds like it's going to make the dungeon so much longer. This is pretty straightforward. Under key level 10 or 12 gets variety. Over that, it's consistent week to week. It's not that complicated. It's far more complicated than what we have now. That's what I'm reacting to. There's a reason the affix changes week to week. They're supposed to offer differing difficulties. Fucking wrong, my dude. Affixes are meant to offer variety, period. You've only ever seen them as additional difficulty because that's all they've ever been. Huh? So you agree? I've said this before and I'll say it again. You like to push keys and that's fine, but you shut down people who are playing for fun or not sharing the same goal of improving at their class or pushing rating. To make it even more clear, WoW is already an impossibly difficult game for new players to get into, and people who share your mindset are making it all the more difficult. I seriously think there needs to be 2 different keystone types, ladder keystone and vault keystones. Ladder keystones can have some lame affixes that add precisely 0 variety or fun or add difficulty. Vault keystones can have the crazy arcade effects, make it so ladder keystones give rating, but offer 0 rewards. Vault keystones offer loot and fill the vault slots, but offer no rating. So sick of YouTubers barking at casuals and casuals barking at YouTubers and everyone barking at Blizzard. Yeah, I agree. It sounds like you don't even actually like the Mythic Plus system at all. Mythic Plus is supposed to be challenging content. Well, I'm not going to get involved in this, but I'll just say this. The guy says, the reason I play Mythic Plus is because big pulls of trash packs are fun. That's the wrong reason then. Vault keystones for arcade action is kind of like Delves coming, isn't it? Yeah, sort of. I don't think bringing new players into the discussion on Mythic Plus with the recent changes to Zero and Heroic makes much sense. Yeah, I don't either. This shows a clear line between casuals and high-end players. It does actually. I didn't even really think about that. So yeah, like if you are doing any like so now, okay. So now would you guys agree an 11 is now a low key? Is that where the line is drawn now? If you don't have the proper challenging affix set, then it's not a high key at all, no matter what. That line is now drawn clearer. It depends on max vault. Max vault, I think they said will be 10, right? I think 11 would be a low key, yeah. I personally would rather see a focus on dungeon mechanics and mob abilities. Make the dungeon memorable instead of how certain affixes affect your dungeon experience. I don't know what he means by that. He means like the affixes change. Yeah, I don't know what he means by that. High or low is subjective to everyone. Yeah, we're not talking about the subjectivity. We're talking about the objectivity of it. Like right now, I would say a low key is any key that does not give the full vault credit, because that's Blizzard designing it that way. So that means it's low, right? But in this case, now there's a new bar has been set. Just like the Hawktua girl set a new bar for all you girls out there. We now have a new bar set by these affix changes. If you're not doing at least a 12, you're not doing progression content effectively. Proposal 2 to 9 is low, 10 to 11 is mid, and I don't deal with mid. I just go, it's just high or low. Like it's either the maximum difficulty and everything scales up, or it's not the maximum difficulty and you proliferate through whatever values they have there. That's the way I've always looked at it. But obviously this isn't an exact science, it's just words. So yeah, I mean, that's fine too. 10 to 11 being mid is like, yeah, that makes sense. I could actually get behind that, even though I don't normally say mid. Wasn't it always 10 is the tipping point when dungeons were hard and 20 is hard and 15 somewhere in between? Not always, no. Only Siths deal in absolutes. I would love to be a Sith. Anyway, make the dungeon memorable instead of how certain affixes. Well, I'm just gonna keep quiet. The best way to respond to some of these comments is just to quote them. This part is very interesting, and I hadn't thought of it initially. The line for anyone doing 11 and lower is now that of a non-progression player, right? Huge change from how it is now. If someone came back after quitting WoW, a 6 would be a high key progressing their character. Yeah, we're not talking about like individual perspectives on it. We're talking about Blizzard's perspective on it. Because like I said, like a key that doesn't even give the max level vault, it can't ever be considered a high key, right? Chill affixes that can be inclusive and don't require a PhD. Enemies take 20% less damage above 50%, and he's trying to like offer some more ideas about what they could change instead. Just throwing out some ideas. I really don't mind Dragonflight affixes. Bursting Week made my AMS feel valuable. Right, that's another good point, yeah. Yeah, another good point. The fact that there are... I don't know how we haven't even talked about this. I cannot believe we're just thinking of this now. The fact that there are no longer rotating affix weeks means class utility and imbalance within such is now hugely disruptive to pugging and invites, right? Because even when priest wasn't valuable, it was a guaranteed invite on busting week. No longer the case. I'm happy this comment section is full of goddamn aliens. I don't know what that means. Someone needs to write a dissertation on what Mythic Plus is going to look like. Good one. Counter argument. Look at the war within dungeons. You're going to need all of that AMS you can get. Oh yeah, no, I mean, obviously there's still going to be that no matter what. Like the dungeons obviously still feature that, but this is like, think about it, right? Like a evoker getting invited because of raging, a priest getting invited because of busting, Death Knight in the past getting invited because of sanguine. Also, I didn't even mean to say sanguine, I mean to say necrotic. Bear getting invited because of necrotic and Shadowlands. Like these things were good for pugging. Just basically like in all ways worse for pugging, it feels like. This, if anything, seems to make a god comp even more of a god comp. Yep, exactly. Who here has ever invited DK because it was busting? Yeah, nobody. No, that's not. Yeah, that wouldn't be the example I would give. Are add-ons and weak cores being discontinued? No. 3100 Marksman Hunter Alt Whore here. What the hell? I actually think these changes are good. They might need to change where some of the fixes happen. I overall like the stance of making keys 1 to 8 reasonable and doable for everyone, 8 to 12 more difficult, and anything above a 12 actually challenging. Also in the realm of 12s, not having to focus on a particular week will be nice. Having some uniformity in those high keys is a good thing overall. Not everyone is going to push 12s, and those who are playing for a different reason than most. So me, it's okay. As is, there's zero purpose to pushing beyond 2500 besides bragging rights. So to me, it's reasonable to make keys really hard at that point. They're trying to make every... Oh yeah, so that's a good question. Will they make... This is another great point. Oh my god. Another great point you brought up that I didn't think of is Keystone Hero now a point of value anymore? Do they make Keystone Hero just require all 11s now? That seems like that's what they should do. Keystone Hero being like 8s, that should change. That should now mean you're doing a Keystone Hero means you're now at the end of the first progression value thing. That's what it should be changed to. Ascendant sounds like the orbs from Sarkareth and Aberys. Oh yeah. Never did that raid, so no clue. If there's no Sanguine, I'm happy. Even if they return every affix ever, but retire Sanguine, I'm happy. You will be happy then. Have a good one. All right, Nick. Thanks for stopping by, man. It means it also means that other classes won't get invites on those weeks, right? Goes both ways. No. It's about like, because like the way the current system works is, if you're not meta, it may be impossible to progress, right? But because there's certain values that being not meta can still bring, you may still be able to progress on certain weeks. And that's why I like the previous system that they had on the beta so much better, because it allowed them to give you a reason to play on certain dungeons or on certain characters in certain dungeons in certain weeks. So like if you're a Frost Death Knight, good fucking luck trying to get a 20 done this season, right? Like good luck. But if somehow frost damage is so powerful, you may be able to get a 20 done on a Frost DK because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no shot of it now. But when they make it so there's value to off-meta things, then the love can be shared. Like, and since you only need it on one set of fixes, it doesn't matter what you get. So even if you did it on the week where you're the best, that still gives the same score as if you did it every other week. So that was a very good idea, and them giving up on that quickly kind of sucked. I'm glad to see your opinion on Challenger's Peril. I feel like a lot of people already suffered from anxiety when pugging in Mythic Plus, and I feel like this affix just amplifies that feeling. It's a good point. I didn't really think, man, these people are making great points. People are already worrying about dying to mistakes, but this affix is making it even worse. I don't think this adds extra challenge to overcome, but just extra frustration and more fuel for levers. The lever situation is already bad as it is. Yep. 100% agreed. And also love how you worded it. The anxiety element is not something I had even considered, but it will be way worse now. Tons of respect for that kind of comment. All right, I think with how much they remove variance for high keys, having Xalatath's weekly rotation would be fine as the main source of variance for keys 12 and up. That's what my thought too. Yeah, that's my exact thought. Making Fortified versus Tyrannical only matters for 4 to 9 seems like a simple way to resolve push weeks. Yep. Though I will state the obvious here, an affix which only has one option, Peril and Guile, aren't affixes. They just mechanics to the mode at that point, which why make the timer harder at 7 specifically rather than save that for 12? I think that just like I said in the video, I think they had just not made the other ones that would come. It'd probably be a set of 4 again. For Peril to punish death strats or whatever, I'd rather they just bring back the pillars to make skip strats not comp and consumable dependent. That was a really cool way to solve that problem. Totally agreed with all this. Still don't get the anxiety thing, but I just believe it's an issue. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an issue. You can talk to Cobb about it. He's got some bad stuff at times. Chick says, other than Tyrannical over 12, getting double dipping damage buffs, amazing changes. Yep. The double dipping scaling is really worrying. Removes Zaltaz Guile and Challenger Peril and will be decent. What? The reason they do that with the death timer is because they had a discussion on how many deaths should still allow people to time a key and had different views for low and high keys. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, why is it at 7 then? You know what I mean? Like, that number is obviously going to vary based on the key level way too minutely to just say 7 is when it should start. Odd that it only goes to 12 and then everything changes. Yeah. Dying is already punishing enough. You lose all your buffs and have to go back to the respawn point, effectively losing time, on top of actually losing time from the death penalty. Why would they make the death penalty even worse? Yeah, I have no idea. This is the worst change they have ever proposed in my eyes. But I want to be optimistic that it might come alongside other changes that will make sense when we see them. Most likely because it's one step before 8 and Keystone Hero. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. If Fortified and Tyrannical are both active, why not remove both and just increase dungeon scaling? The one affix you can outplay and receive a buff is great and definitely the way they should go about with these things. Yep. It's just going to be so weird seeing 4 affixes on the thing there that have no actual, like, they're just there. They're just scaling. Death penalty thing is simple to me. Deaths don't matter for the timer and low keys, and higher keys, people don't die. I wish. Because they want variety in low keys, that's why they keep them. Right, I like the, anyway. The point of this is for players doing 12 plus, you face only 4 Tyrant and a 20% multiplier for those 2. It's aimed for high keys to be very hard, but you are fighting the key, not the affix. This will make me care about min-maxing to live. Take on a true, consistent 12 pushing ladder. My biggest concern is that a 12 will just be extremely difficult to pug, and the season's longevity will be heavily impacted by that fact. Seems pretty cool. Glad you like it. Cali crack is bad, kids. Look what it did to Blizzard. This list is massive creative brain rot. It's all thanks to the conflicting feedback the community gives. You have heard of the phrase, you can't please everyone, right? Well, Blizzard is trying to do it. Seeing Key's time with 20 deaths is pretty comical. What's your thoughts on the current Alex Central arc? When is the finale? I don't know. I haven't been able to watch them, unfortunately, recently. I've heard there's a lot of weird drama going on. I don't see how this is more complicated. It's clearly much simpler. It's way more complicated than just removing the affixes. Wow, kid, I'm with Metro here. This seems like it's overcomplicated as hell and rather unnecessarily so. I get that they're trying to eliminate push weeks, but this isn't the best way to do it. I intend to watch Jack play later when I get home and see how this all plays out. I think it will most likely be changed at a certain point. I would not expect this to be the last iteration. Sure. Man, glad I didn't comment in that video. Hey, you leave a comment if you want. Bambuco, this is the guy who always lives negative shit. I don't understand how you find this new affix model more confusing than the last one. You have to be trolling when you say stuff like that. I'm just gonna ban this person. You're just molding, they're removing affixes you liked. Sounds good. Thanks anyway, buddy. That's enough of that. He likes his girls, it looks like. You can go comment on their bodies. So we get to practice low keys 2 to 11 with cool empowerments, and then all that goes away when we get better and just turns into a boring health and damage increase. Won't that also make it harder to make the jump from super low to mid keys too? I imagine you'll be able to choose mechanics in a 2 to 11, and that ability will go away when the 12 changes. Yep. Once you get to 12, you better be a master at everything the dungeon offers. Otherwise, you are going to be severely punished and make little progress until you figure it out. Kind of the worst case example from our complaints that they actually addressed with the season 4 changes. They added new affixes? Oh god, yeah, you better catch up. Stop watching this nonsense and go watch that. Go watch the video that I pinned. Can someone translate this comment? What, this? One interesting knot is a monk tank, prot warrior, or bear druid on a 12 will have to deal with Tyrant 4 and 20% on top of the fort, +1 of 4 weeks, nor magic damage taken. Seems like they may have made meta tank vengeance blood if you can live the one shots and prop pally. Oddly, my 3 front runners. Class balance will matter a lot more now as well. These affixes will get changed. The problem are people on the WoW official forums who either hate affixes or can't even time 10s are being the most vocal. I read multiple rage threads on those other affixes that were no big deal, but they made them a big deal. People only take S classes on Y weeks. My Fury Warrior never gets invited, etc. Just pole vaulting over rat turds. It's a funny way to put it. I like the bargain affixes. I wish they would stay and not removed at 12. Then again, those types of affixes are what the WoW forum people are asking for. I look forward to reading those hate threads. Yeah, sadly, people aren't complaining because they want changes that will make them happy. They are complaining because they are conditioned to do so. They will likely never truly be satisfied because their core issue with the system is that they are not as skilled as they hoped they would be. So they are lashing out at anything remotely standing in their way. Monk is pretty beefy on beta. Blood DK is probably the strongest at the moment. I've tested all the tanks, waiting on the new build to see if there's any tank changes. Yeah, maybe. Only thing I like is that they remove busting. It was just annoying in pugs watching DPS fall over because they didn't hold. But the rest of this, WTF. It's a wild... There's a lot of comments, man. We're gonna be here a while. I think these are improvements over the current system, but I wish they kept the other fixes that they just made. I hope they go forward with the Kiss Curse affix design. I think it would make Mythic Plus a lot more enjoyable, and that they need to ignore all the streamers who want every week to be exactly the same, so they can do their 15th plus 13 of the season. It's clear that they've given up trying to make the game and just design around what big streamers want. I don't understand why they designed the raids around race to world first instead of the median player, and now they're doing it with keys. There's no reason that the affixes should go away and be replaced with a 20% damage and HP buff, and now every key will both be fortified and tyrannical. The keys above 10 and 12 are just numerically really hard now, and you lose the fun part of the affixes. The only people who will do high keys are streamers. What's the point now? A bit overstated, but I agree in general. The changes will make keys far harder and likely less fun. That was a big complaint about affixes. So I'm not sure that people will like this version. I skimmed through them on Wowhead. They seem pretty cool. Oh yeah. The new talents, there are a few things that they can do to dodge one-shot mechanics. Vengeance for giving a suppress Celestial Brew style talent. Oh really? He thinks streamers are doing 13s? Yeah, I don't want to get into that. I don't know what that guy's saying, but they punish all community. Before it was 20% magic damage on some caster weeks. Now it's 60% damage to all dungeons, plus 30% on bosses. They just killed pug keys. Players will do delves or raids and avoid Mythic Plus. I'm worried these changes will kill pugging too, for sure. If you want to go through some Wowhead comments, really don't understand where half these people are coming from. Maybe if we have enough time after all this. Alright, so this guy's gone anyway, so we'll just delete the comment. Blizzard has finally unlocked the Infinity Gauntlet of shit game design. I'm happy. Harder content, harder dungeons, plus higher levels required for Mythic level rewards mean Mythic Plus will finally stop being a lodestone around the neck of the Mythic raid recruitment. Oh, now this is an interesting point. Now people serious about Mythic Plus can push their content, and the people looking for a bare minimum vault can loot pinata can be evenly distributed across the game modes. This is a really good point. The whole cross-server pug scene over the years has really killed off both server identity as well as all but the highest level of guild community, and I honestly miss knowing the people I play with as opposed to everyone having absolutely no investment in their teammates, which I think is the chief culprit behind the lever or toxic pub mentality. I don't know what he's talking about there, but... Challenger's Peril will keep my friends asking for a carry and anything above a 6. Wait, did they say higher keys would give better loot? No, or did they? And I missed it. This is insane. People at Blizzard are crazy. Put even more responsibility in the tank. Give the DPS even more reason to blame the tank for buffing the mobs. And he's talking about the low keys. I think this guy was in here talking about it. Then what's his point? This guy, he was saying that if you don't want to do like the hard version of keys, like, yeah, actually, I guess I kind of see what you mean. I don't really know what his point is in that way, but I think he's assuming that the lower keys will now be easier and more fun. So it won't be like you need to also be really skilled at Mythic Plus to be able to do them. I don't know exactly what he means on that point, actually. People are toxic because they're not in the same server and won't see each other again. I mean, I've heard that comment a lot, but I don't think that has anything to do with these changes. This is insane. People at Blizzard are crazy. Okay, read that. Both tyrannical and fortified. WTF. They're catering to the top 1% to make a more consistent gameplay, ignoring the other 99%. And this guy says, out of curiosity, you think 99% of Mythic Plus player base will get to a 12? I think... Seven drops Heroic Path, end of dungeon. 8 gives Mythic in the vault, yeah. I don't think it's all that complicated. I do not pug, so my view is a lot different than yours. I was dreading keys in the War Within, because to be honest, I'm kind of burnt out on the 4 fixes they are removing. This alleviates that for me completely. Having the same group every week, the system is kind of better. Definitely, I agree with that. My group will now have clear progression, and it's based on the dungeons, not the affixes. My concern is that it's kind of boring as fuck. I'm concerned that scaling isn't going to work the way they think it will because they are compounding these. Yeah, totally agree. A good number of people right now do their 4 to 8 8s and call it good. Yeah, the only concern people should realistically have is scaling. Yep. And that, I mean, that's what he said here. Compounding 20% plus whatever Fort and Tyrant is plus the other. If we have another survival meta, this is just going to bring one-shots even faster. And he was in the chat here saying that before too. Why at 12? Rewards stop at a 10, which is the only thing 90% of the player base is motivated by. So at 12, it's going to shoot up in difficulty with nothing to obtain in sight. It's going to be awful to pug when people can get a title for collecting orbs, then ditch the system entirely. The dungeon timer loss will make people's patience 3x thinner. We see people fly off the handle for 1 death, losing 5 seconds. Imagine a team wipe and lose a minute 15 immediately, then have to run back. Tuning is going to be asked when the game first launch, even if they keep the affixes the same. Yeah, no doubt, but this makes it even more complicated and even more dire if it's bad. Really enjoyed that Toxic Priest video the other day. That was wild, right? There's probably comments on that too. I'm confused why it's not 11 instead of 12 too. I hope Shaman gets some changes today. They might do something drastic if they don't. Oh, what, like Ankh? That sounds awful to me. The bargain affix sounds interesting, but pointless because it is only on the low keys. Yeah. I was looking forward to the bargain affix on the high keys. The 15-second death penalty is very rough. Yeah, that's really bad. Holy Poly changes too, maybe? Yeah, maybe. None of the high key pushers in my guild, myself included, are happy about this change. If it's anything like the last affix change they made during testing, it'll last 1 rotation. That's what I'm thinking too. Another knee-jerk change coming soon. Hey, Cobb, what's up, buddy? They really hooped the pooch with these changes, huh? Hooped the pooch. It's just crazy. I mean, they could end up working, but it's just so aggressive and so wild that I don't know why they did it. The Holy Poly changes come together with the Shaman rework. Lol. The strange thing about affixes is that they never change the fundamental mechanic of grabbing the largest pack you can handle and then AoEing them down. There were just some that were more annoying than others. Yep. That's what I've been trying to tell people. They really have far less impact on the key than the actual dungeon does. Hey, Sage, what's up, buddy? Welcome. Push week should not be their focus. Wow, okay, what's up, buddy? I agree. I think this is a really bad solution to that, one way or the other. It removes the possibility of 30 death runs being timed, which is a positive, and makes people be much more aware. But 15 seconds is way too big of a mistake. The problem I am hoping that, the thing I'm thinking of right now is that maybe they just commit to making timers way longer. And then this is a way to balance against that. Like, they don't want people upgrading keys with 30 deaths. But at this point, it's going to be like, if you have 5 deaths, you might not upgrade the key. So they need to make it so keys are way longer, timer-wise. This is what people get for complaining about the new 7 bucket. Blizzard is so good at, you think that was bad. Yeah. Sadly, kinda agree. Seen this monkey's paw type change many times over the years. It's not Blizzard's fault only, though. The community is asking for something Blizzard does not agree should be in the game currently. So they are forced to come up with crazy ways to implement it. All this sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, it's not that bad, but I'm good. Slowly recovering from my car accident. Oh, I did not know you had a car accident. Thankfully that I survived with only minor bruises and aches. I hope you're all right, man. It's a real case of you think you do, but you don't. To all those people asking to remove affixes, I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, it is. This is what I said. Like, you ask for something that is clearly outside the design philosophy, and you get these crazy, complicated changes. I'm happy. The vast majority of the player base never interact with anything higher than portal keys, so for them, this improves the current system by ditching sanguine and bolstering, which they hated, while adding actual curse affixes. Well, that's stupid. People are going to hate the new affixes too. That's for the high key pushes. They wanted an excuse to push every week, and this is one way to do it. This seems like a great way for them to experiment with what the high key community has claimed they want, because it is easy to roll back next patch and doesn't affect most of the player base. A good way to put it. 15-second death timers are punishing, but keys time with 20 deaths feels super strange. I have quibbles, but this is the first set of changes that mostly make sense. That first part, I don't think you thought through all the way. People didn't like those affixes because they made them have to work harder. The new affix will do that even more so. I'm definitely happy those affixes are gone. Yeah, I mean, whatever. They remove them, I'm fine with it, I guess. If players disrupt these orbs, they claim the effect for themselves. I will not and have never been a fan of any external form of power. Also, what values are they going to have? If it's something large like 8%, then I don't know I'm a fan. Also, can one player get multiple, or will it be up to each member to do their own? I really hate things like this that make your character feel stronger one week than worse the next week, or in different content. You get bored a lot faster because you can get used to a certain level of performance. Interesting thinking there. While I don't feel that way myself, I can see your point. This guy's complaining about getting buffs. I think he's complaining about the buffs rotating in a way that may not be equal or fun for him week to week. It's kind of like Torghast, right? Like where you do Torghast and you got different powers each time. I can see why that would bother people. My original reply to that was going to simply be like, it just doesn't matter because everything above 12 is what really matters, but I don't want to be a dick. This will, of course, be iterated and get better, but this going live the way it is now is going to make Mythic Plus a lot more fun than having that 7 bucket. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I agree with that, honestly. The affixes sound fun, but there's only one way to know if they are good or not, and we will figure it out in about 2.5 months. Hopefully, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to play the War Within at this point. Keys are 90% of my game, and I don't find these posts encouraging. The Wowhead interview with Ian and Morgan made me think they had a grasp on what they want out of keys. Blizzard are usually great on delivering highly refined, simple yet robust systems, but they're coming up short here. I agree, and it also feels rushed. I thought this would take longer for them to publish. Hopefully they can build on it. What is going on at Blizzard? How did they come from we will not change Mythic Plus at release from the War Within to this mess? Feels like panic due to people screaming about things they aren't fully aware of, like always in this community. I think people are fine with working hard, but only if there's a reward for doing so rather than simply avoiding punishment. Good luck doing that in real life, huh? It's not going to stick. Yeah, I think a lot of this is probably going to get changed again, but there's a lot less people liking it than I thought there would be, though. Sanguine is fine. It's frustrating at times because mobs refuse to move, but it's easily solved without removing it. Dog shit new system. Can they just focus? Can they just focus on having fun? See, there you go. This was literally them doing that. Referring to. He only put 2 periods as well. Like, come on, bro. I do feel like people who are complaining don't really do hard keys. And that's why this conversation is so difficult to have. Because it's like, I read the comment and think they're talking about 12s, but then they say something about the buff. And I'm like, oh, wait, you have to readjust what I'm saying. But this guy says he's still not satisfied with changes, even though they're basically what he asked for. See what I mean? This is why this is all a waste of time. Sanguine is fine. However, it limits dungeon design space because certain actions mobs can't do on Sanguine weeks. Yeah, I think it was great in some dungeons and not great in others, but... Did you look at the changes yet? I already made a video on these changes, and now I'm replying to the video comment section live on the stream. Sanguine is a pain in the ass for sure, but it's not unrecoverable. It can be very challenging on the timer. That's the only thing I would say. If the mob was easier to move and you had more agency over moving it, then I would be fine with it. It really feels like Blizzard has no idea what they're doing. I mean, why would these yo-yo changes happening every week be the move made by a developer who has a solid vision about exactly what they wanted to make? It really just seems like spaghetti into the fan at this point. Oh no, the devs are trying different ideas and changing their mind after listening to player feedback. No. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. They are listening to feedback that does not allow them to have a solid vision about exactly what they wanted to make. I'll quote that to make that obvious. If the feedback is change the game, then the feedback is wrong. They should just play something they actually like. I feel like if you made a video in 3 months, I bet a lot of these people would say not as bad as I thought. I'm sure me would be included in that, yeah. Anthony Saladino, what's up, buddy? Welcome. Because at the end of the day, Faxi, I think the dungeons just matter far more than anything else. Especially given how difficult the dungeons were when I tested them. Like, all of this shit just probably doesn't even matter that much. The issue with Sanguine is if you have a mob that is difficult to move and it heals to full, then you now have a mob that is full health and difficult to chain into anything else. Yep. So that's what I'm saying. If you had more agency over, like if every mob was grippable, or Sanguine silenced a mob, or Sanguine... it could only heal so often, like it healed less or more over time and started very low. Like all of these ways would solve Sanguine and nobody would look at them as bad. Here. Oh, this is great. Well, this all sounds horrible. Mythic Plus was the only content I still enjoyed in the game. I don't like raiding, PvP, or casual collection stuff. Maybe it's finally time to move on from WoW if this is what they're doing. That's the first comment. Comment underneath it is, if it is the greatest shift in Mythic Plus and in a great direction. It sounds like you didn't get past 2s. Okay, so he replies, so because I don't like the change, I never got past 2s. That's some sound logic. I've been doing 20s in Shadowlands, even though they're not hard either, but okay. You seem to miss the point I was making. If the one content I like is going in a direction I don't like, then I fail to see a reason to pay a sub. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of this change, I would look at this behavior as something to be guarded against. If your entire purpose playing WoW is to do a single specific type of content, you probably, I keep spelling things wrong, don't like the game enough to be playing it. This was always going to happen at some point. You don't want to hang your entire hat on one thing, because it will inevitably, I have no idea how you can spell that word apparently, inevitably disappoint you. Wow. Okay, we gotta fix all those words. I don't think anyone in this chat has done a 20 as of right now. He's obviously talking about, he said Shadowlands, so obviously talking about the old 20. Inviolably. All right, final comment, and then we'll refresh and see what's new. It's a lot like the ridiculous profession leveling system. Overcomplicated, takes way too long, and yet another grind. Mythics Plus seems like a chore rather than enjoyment. It's just something you must do to upgrade your gear, which is already an insane grind. Seriously, these people just don't connect with the player base at all. That is like way too far to one direction. I definitely don't agree with that. I'll expect some awesome last minute changes on release date. Well, probably not release date, but yeah, like maybe when the season starts. I think that guy would really enjoy beta servers where you can just get gear instantly. I won't agree that this has anything to do with gearing. But I agree it's an overly complicated change to a very minor issue. Not a fan of that, personally. But saying the devs don't connect with the player base at all is a very strange thing, because they are literally making these changes because they are trying to pretend that the game is piloted by the community more than them. It's like literally the opposite of what's happening. People are crazy. Stop playing if the actual game feels like it's not fun to you. Yeah, the amount of people who just log in and say they don't like the game automatically is really sad. All right, let's well, actually, so many fucking 38 new notifications. Holy shit. The fact that they cannot see that Challenger's peril makes it easier for people to troll in dungeons is just facepalm. That's another great point I hadn't thought of. I think they genuinely do not consider pugging ever when they make changes to Mythic Plus. Wait, did I know? Oh, yeah. It says, I guess it depends on how the scaling is applied. If the 20% is scaled multiplicatively, meaning it's a 20% increase from Fort and Tyran and the 20% increase from Betrayal, then it's really 24% increase in total, so not super bad. I just hope they touch up Tyran a little to fit this new style. Yeah, when you put it that way, it makes it seem a lot more normal. Harmy says, make it all 11 so that it's achievable by more, or make it all 12 so they have to experience the full load of fixes. I agree with that. We'll see how everything turns out in season 1. It's probably between a total clown show and playable. Well, it's definitely gonna be playable. All right, let's just do this now for a bit. The bargains are designed as hand-holding measures for lower keys. Too bad once people start doing real keys, they're going to experience what real difficulty feels like and probably nope out of the higher levels. Yep. That's my big concern. They won't fully learn how difficult mechanics are. I love the chaos of season 1, and this will make it really crazy. I agree with Jukin' Dude. Jukin' Duke. Big fan of Duke, obviously. I love this for the sub 10 crowd, though. 10s are going to be real with the first level of Tyrant and Fort. I can't understand why you're complaining about how hard this will be to push. You prescribe the rest of us to grow up and play the game because Mythic Plus is supposed to be difficult content. It looks like it evens out the whole thing, keeping difficulty a linear slope, and for sub 10 still get some difficulty without going cray cray. I don't think it matters to pugs because you have no information about who dies normally in dungeons. In the end, we need to play it out to see how it actually all works in practice, but right now I'm liking it. Okay, I am complaining because I know in the pug world, deaths usually mean disbands. Now that they are making it all more likely to have deaths at all and punishing those deaths far more, it's likely going to make progression extremely difficult. Wait a second, I just thought of something. If it is like I'm saying it, where 12 is going to be way harder than 11, the meta is going to be to double upgrade 11s. They should make it so you can't double upgrade keys past 11. That should be the next change they should make. Just in case. Because this is really going to... Yeah, that would be kind of unfair. My Frostmage self is so happy with the removal of Sanguine. I'd like to hear. I'm so confused right now. Oh, okay, let's see what Cop has to say. But for real, this is Blizzard's attempt to once again show people who wanted no affixes. You think you do, but you don't. I cannot imagine the War Within dropping and this going live in Mythic Plus. It's convoluted, it's confusing, and it's bad game design. And kind of between casual and progression. I do miss weeks sometimes, begrudgingly and due to health issues, but I'm always trying to push myself to be better. So I think my opinion is semi-valid at least. I think that is just bad. That being said, we know they're going to change it as they wrap their head and systems around it and iterate. What about if Xal'atad's bargain didn't go away, but a new layer was added where enemies did whatever the fuck it said in that post they were going to do? What the hell? I think the whole rotating Fort and Tyrant thing needs to go. That being said, I'm fine with having both on a higher key, but that then it needs to be only difficulty increase at that level, and the keys can iterate on there from there. In addition, it lets players bring knowledge forward from a previous week where they did a Fort in an 11, and the week before that did a Tyrant on a plus 11. That being said, if you go to do keys this week on beta, I would be more than happy to be the Butch Cassidy to your Sundance Kid. Absolutely. Wonder if they were trolling. Oh, this is the previous video. Wonder if they were trolling the shaman because he was streaming. They maybe watched as they killed him. No. I think these changes are for the better because at 12 you no longer play to gear it. You play to increase an arbitrary score that ticks your dopamine need. In other words, you play for bragging rights. In the end, the majority of players like to do as massive of a pull as they can possibly pull off, and they AoE the living crap out of it. That's really all that Mythic Plus is. That's such a sad thing to hear somebody say that out loud. For Vault players who only do their weekly Vault runs, these pose no annoyance whatsoever to get that done. Yeah, I mean, I don't really agree with any of this. The fact that you think the majority of players like to do as massive of a pull as they possibly can and are saying that's really all that Mythic Plus is why that is not what Blizzard wants Mythic Plus to be. Yeah, this is like another one of the toxic thing. I don't see the need for all this rambling and complaining. If someone is clearly trolling you, you leave and move on with your life. Stop being such drama queens. No. There are poles smaller than everything but the kitchen sink. Alright, that's it. No new comments. Anything else? Let's see. 2K views on that already. That's a lot. 139 comments already. Oh, there's another new comment. There wasn't anything confusing about it. It sounded pretty straightforward to me. From a dev point of view, it makes sense to do a big drastic change and then chip away at it. I'd say let the testing go as planned rather than people's asses puckering at the first pass. It's confusing because of the design, not the actual output. We don't need to have all of these different situations at different levels. No, that's pretty much all you gotta say to that comment. Alright, let's see what other replies have been made. Then I'm probably gonna just end the stream at this point. Usually I just go through and just read, like look at any ones that have new responses. Yeah, what's this guy had to say? Sorry if that was rude. It just seems like every time I listen to you, Max or Title's groan about affixes catering to a casual audience in any way. I just groan about how Blizzard is going to knee-jerk react in totally opposite direction based on your guys' feedback and fuck over the experience for me and everyone I know for another tier. What the fuck is this guy talking about? I can't imagine me and those guys ever agree on much, to be honest. I don't think you are being fair lumping me in with them. But either way, I agree with the general idea. Influencers have far too much pull on both the community zeitgeist, how do you spell that? And the game development, then listens to that as feedback, and it often makes good systems work worse than before. Started streaming 2 hours ago. Did you have to wait for maintenance? Yeah, there was maintenance today. Rough day for streaming, but good day for content. A lot of comments on that. Don't think that, yeah. Oh, here's another new one. As someone who gets portals and then switches on alt to get more portals, these changes sound great. People were complaining about the upgrading keys with 20 deaths. Were they? Who's complaining about that? Well, with more challenging death penalties, that won't happen as much. You will have to learn the dungeon, learn the mechanics of the packs, and use your kit to CC or pay attention. I will be in favor of that change if the dungeons are easy to upgrade via no deaths. Right now that isn't really the case, sadly, but it's more now the case than it's ever been. If we have a situation where DPS stop only worrying about their actual numbers and can start worrying more about their survival, I will be very happy with these results. The word is spelled so wrong, even Google doesn't know what I'm saying. But that is just wishful thinking at this point. Damn it, Google, you had one job. Sometimes I sigh IRL when I'm texting someone and I misspell it so wrong my autocorrect just goes silent. Yeah, dude, that's funny. You can't even figure it out. You would think it would get better because, like, the context is kind of obvious, right? I don't feel like the context there didn't, like, it helped it. It made it obvious what the word was. It does seem like there's a lot of division, yeah, one way or the other. More than I thought there was going to be. All right, let's take a look at the Wowhead comments since we got a little bit of time here still. We read these, right? Yeah. Blizzard has updated their initial post to clarify that while Fortified and Tyrannical initially alternate, both will become a bat. Oh, that wasn't obvious to people. My biggest takeaway is if the scaling is correct and right, people will love it. If not, they won't. Right, and that's why I'm concerned, because it's not. There's no indication that it's ever going to be right. Like every season of Dragonflight, really, all 5 seasons of alternating content dungeons have not been well balanced across from each other. So they better fucking somehow really hit the nail on the head next time. Otherwise, it's going to be super obvious. All right, anyway, so let's see some of these comments. I'm going to read for like another 20 minutes maybe, or less. So we are now getting both Fortified and Tyrannical every week? Yes. Wow, those affixes didn't last long. Yeah, that was funny. Insane Blizz W. Some people are happy. But for scaling, they can take a few extra weeks. That is okay. They should not be removing or adding affixes in week 2. Wowhead cesspool. Wowhead comments are the cesspool of the internet. They're sometimes really bad, yeah. Get absolutely bent, key pushers. The fuck is this guy talking about? Why would you say that out loud? Oh man. All right, anyway, these potential changes. I really would like it if this was the official forums, like it had a link to the guy's progression. I'd like to see what this guy's actual experience with the game is. Because what the fuck is he talking about? Who's getting bent here? This is what everybody was asking for. Because it's harder scaling wise. Well, that's what I mean. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the guy's point is because he wrote 5 fucking words. You know what I mean? Like, this is the best he can give her. No punctuation, just 5 words. These potential changes seem really interesting. I'd rather they experiment the way they have been than keeping things stale and boring. This is the truest part about it. Blizzard's not afraid to try. They've changed in that way. The high key pushers love this. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is this guy talking about people doing 5s? Like, I don't know who gets fucked here. I really don't. Hang fire. 12 and up have both Fortified and Tyrannical. Just delete them for fuck's sake. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know why they both have to be there. It doesn't really make any sense. They need to loop them all into one affix. Is there anyone pushing 4s? I don't believe there is, but people keep telling me there are. Sounds like a balancing nightmare. Each key will have to be balanced for both Fort, Tyran, and the 20% buff that comes at 12. Yep, that's maybe a little overstated. It kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, like low keys now could be very imbalanced at certain times as well. I imagine it will be pretty gnarly as a newer or more casual group of players to die in a Mythic Plus dungeon and lose 75 seconds per wipe. But other than that, it seems like a good set of changes. Yeah, I just... Like, surely that's got to change, right? That's the one that's got to go. Something, aka the history of WoW Mythic Plus, tells me that these new affixes to replace old ones will be dog water. Perspective shift. They are deleting Fort and Tyrannical, and keys 2 to 9 will have an affix that either nerfs trash or bosses. That's a good way to look at it, yeah. Healthier way to look at it. Massive W. People are going to initially react and say, oh my god, we have both Fort and Tyran. I don't think anybody's really reacting that way. But the reality is for all keys that matter, everything is very consistent. Death timer is got to go. WTF. Yeah, I would say they should remove the death timer total. This is the wrong direction in my eyes. This looks like an interesting iteration, and I'm liking it. Of course, the proof will be in the pudding, but they're definitely better done than the previous affix iteration, including those currently on live. There's only one massive W, and that's George W. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. That dude made politics funny, right? Starting good, going good. And then they felt like they had to remove any buffs that could possibly provide fun gameplay and higher fixes. A step in the right direction, and then a leap into the sewer. Tough one to feel like is a very fair perspective, but kind of agree with the sentiment. Like, I would definitely have rather if they just did seasonal fixes, like all around fixes like seasonal fixes. He did things that are politics, that's for sure. Yep. Hey, Size, what's up, buddy? Welcome. Yeah, unfortunately, you come at the ending of it, but we've pretty much been talking about these for the last 3 hours. Wasn't it meant to ensure to not bloat up more into the players, or did I get it wrong? That was, yeah, I mean, you got it wrong. You got it right, I think. You just confused on what you were reacting to. New or casual players are pushing 12s on the regular? Yeah, honestly. I see a lot of people who are doing this as their first season, and they're above me. Some new comments here. Let's read them. Punishing players even harder on a 7 is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You only think pugs are toxic now. Now, this isn't a bad change or coordinated 5-man groups that can float through keys easily, but for pugs, this is awful. Yep. I agree. Pugs get hit real hard here. Mr. President, they hit second affix. What else? It would have been a great opportunity to try some of these out in Season 4. I can't say the rush release date of War Within amidst all these roller coaster changes from Mythic Plus and the various specs gives me much optimism going forward. Really? To me, it seems like that indicates that they are more stable in their development. In the past, changes like this would have just been delayed for Season 2. Besides the death timer reduction effects, I love the new ones. Gotcha. A lot of new comments. I feel like it's overcomplicated, and reading the notes, I had a similar response. Keep throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks. What happens when everything you stuck to the wall previously falls off and you just have a pile on the floor? That's a weird way to turn that analogy. Don't forget the key level for crests has changed too. It's like 8 or 9 for the high end instead of crests. It does feel like they are chasing their own tail here. Well, what happens when they evolve into Ninetales? Comment posted. Rest in piss, bolstering, sanguine, and busting. Yeah, good luck. They'll probably be back in Season 2. I'd much rather them do this on a beta instead of a Season 2 PTR. Me too. Yeah, I think this is way better than that. Plus 12 is going to be wild ride if these changes go through. It's going to be very hard, I'd imagine. They're definitely fine-tuning for the first time pre-expansion ever. BFA didn't get Mega Giga until Season 4. Yep, I agree with that. Seems like they're far better at making the content they need to make. He didn't really think about what I was saying in the video. That's surprising. Bring back old expansion seasonal fixes. That's what I was hoping they were going to do when I heard that seasonals were coming back. I thought they were just going to rotate the old seasonals. If they evolve into Ninetales, can't they always just use a common candy to de-level themselves? Nope, you can't unevolve. Once you got the Ninetales, you're stuck. Where do I have Ninetales in my game? I'm not even sure I do. Didn't really think about the death mechanic, and I would have to agree with you there, since there's no real way currently to make up the time difference to play. The death mechanic might be the most impactful overall. Yep. Correct. All right, keep reading wild comments. Get ready for the deluge of content from all the usual suspects. Uh-oh. Blizzard's actually listening to its player base. Shocking. See, that's so stupid. To say that is really stupid. Sicario says, I got a question. Well, I will have an answer. Well, let me know what the question is. Banger changes, very nice, very new, very new. Glad we are seeing some new, I guess, no interactions in Mythic Plus. I cannot wait to test these on the PTR. You mean the beta? I make that mistake all the time, don't worry. Waffles or pancakes? Ooh, okay, I'm gonna tell you my answer here. My mom makes pancakes, and we put the Reese's Pieces peanut butter like baking pieces in the pancakes, and then some chocolate chip baking pieces in as well. Those are the best pancakes I've ever had. I went to Perkins a little bit ago, and I got blueberry pancakes there, and it's just like, nah, my mom's pancakes are the best. But waffles are the opposite. Like, waffles are good regardless of what's on them. And I'll go to what's that called? That like seedy place that is a main chain. What's the name of that place? Waffle House, of course. I go to Waffle House, and they have so many cool things you can do at waffles there that it's like, fuck, I would never even think about getting pancakes here. So I don't like pancakes on their own, is what I'm saying, but I like waffles on their own. And waffles are more fun to fill with shit because they have like little pockets so you can put stuff right in the pocket. So both, I guess. My common response to that is Blizzard always has and always will listen. They may not always agree. Well, it's just a stupid comment because like literally half the reason the game is being made the way it is because of the community. Hot dogs or corn dogs? I've never eaten a corn dog once in my entire life. What does it taste like? A local place I go to from time to time has the best buttermilk pancakes. So good. Oh yeah. Do you like things that are added into pancakes, or do you just like regular pancakes? Chris77.Lail45 says Arev. I don't know what that means, sorry. Drooling all over my new keyboard. Thanks, dude. Yeah, well, luckily Waffle House's waffles are served around the day 24/7. They're better than hot dogs, to be honest, really. Corn dogs are typically very nasty. I've yet to see them done well. But this is the guy who likes pineapple pizza. In EU, they are done well. They have hot dogs in EU, really? I didn't even realize that. The Wowhead comments are shockingly good. We haven't gotten too far yet, but yeah. Normally it's Doomville. Yeah, normally it's some guy just faking, like, outrage, right? Are you going to try Mythic Plus on the beta? Yeah, whenever they announce that. Hopefully it'll be tomorrow, but doesn't seem to be any announcement yet. So much better than the previous ones. Oh, so the list they say doesn't actually mean they're all active at once. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, some people were confused. So Tyrannical Weeks are going to be a 50% boss HP increase now. This is quite a complicated way to say at 10, Fortified and Tyran will both be active. At 12, they will be further increased. Yep. That's pretty much what I said. It's weird that while the start of this message feels so positive, the convoluted way of saying it and the lack of acknowledgement that maybe the baseline difficulty scaling has to be considered now with 3 Fort Tyran bonuses at the same time will make people hesitate again. I agree. Do you play any other specs besides Blood DK? Not normally, no. I've been thinking about playing alts, but I was thinking about it again today, and I think instead of that, I might just try to go back to some Mythic Plus soloing. The beta is supposed to be updated later today with the new changes. Right, but will they start Mythic Plus testing today? They haven't announced that yet, I don't think, have they? The only thing I dislike about the new affixes is the reduced timer one. I feel like it's too much. Yeah, it's going to be terrible for pugs. Too much time consumed on changing NEL routes. No, Theris layer routes. What do you mean? This is quite a complicated way to read that. This is insane in a good way, I think. I don't see Fort and Tyran on a 10 surviving testing. Need to get Kiss the Curse affixes that don't suck and more consistency. Oh, on alt. yeah. I'm not really a big alt guy, but I love the move back to seasonable, thematic, positive, negative fixes. Good changes. Looking forward to seeing how it plays out. See, that guy's coming from it from literally a I'm never going to do a 12. Blood DK Metal, let's go. Let's go, yeah. Great T Game says, I think they want Mythic Plus to be more difficult due to the awards being so good for how easy it is right now. What rewards? The things that they made more difficult are 12s, which don't have any actual rewards to them. Nobody likes the fixes. Let's make twice as much. See, that's what I'm saying. Nobody likes Tyrannical Weeks. Let's make every week Tyrannical and Fortified. Great example of listening to the community. Yep, I kind of agree. Most people seem to like these changes, especially high-end players, which is weird to me. Well, it's not weird to me. I mean, those guys basically like them because it means that they don't have to, like, schedule their whole lives around push weeks. You know what I mean? But this is not the right way to solve that. I don't read that out of the changes about this guy. Let's make twice as much. It's just the way it went down is what I was saying. Like, that's why it was so weird the way they worded it. Like, it literally could have been like what this guy said before, right? It's quite a complicated way at 10 fortified to say at 10 fortified and tyrannical will both be active, and at 12 they will be further increased. Yeah. How long have you played WoW? I got it the day it came out back in Classic 2004. November 23rd, 2004. I didn't actually make an account until December or something though. As long as fort bolstering is gone, I'm happy. Oh yeah. Well, this is gonna be worse than fort bolstering. This is basically gonna be bolstering, or fort. I'd be willing to bet next tuning patch we get Fort and Tyrant are nerfed in some way. That would do a lot to soothe my concern for sure. If we get to a point where it seems like the scaling won't be crazy, then I'll probably be a lot happier. Get absolutely bent key pushers. This is what pushers have been asking for, actually. I don't understand. So 12 will have both fortified and tyrannical. I guess that was confusing to people. I don't know. It tripped me up for a second, but it was pretty obvious. When did Mythic Plus become a thing? Was it already a thing in Classic? No, it was a thing for the first time in Legion, but it had a predecessor system called Challenge Mode, which is basically like there was only one difficulty of Mythic Plus, say just like plus 10. That's the only difficulty. And all of your gear scaled down to whatever level they wanted you to be at for level 10. And then the challenge of it would be to triple upgrade the 10. That was what your goal was when you entered it. It wasn't to upgrade it like just once. You were basically there to triple upgrade it. Just remove Fort and Tyrant and combine them into one affix. Well, they're not going to do that because they're trying to keep it, like, for some fucking reason, they're trying to make low keys have more gradient to them. So there's going to be Fort and then both, and then the opposite the next week. If you die, more time gets taken out of the timer. Tyrant and Fort at the same time. They increase the level needed for aspects. I'm betting they're making max gear for vaults 11. Maybe, but they said it was going to be 10 before, didn't they? But yeah, it's Mythic Plus in general sounds like it's going to be harder, but I wouldn't really say that. Like, the changes to the low keys are not going to be harder because they're going to have the buff affix, and it sounds like it's going to be substantial. Like, that sounds like a massive buff, right? Based on what they wrote. What if they want 10s to actually be hard and a progression point for most people, even people like us currently doing 16s? That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. That could very well be the case. Hey, like I said, dude, if the concerns I have don't end up coming to fruition, then I'll like this a lot more. I think it would be fun if we spent a lot of time, you know, between 9 and 12. But there's no indication that that's what they want right now. You know, they could have said that if that's what they were going to do. They will for sure tune the base on 12, and it is easier with both Fort and Tyrant always active. I think what they might actually end up doing is making the key so easy that everybody gets to 12, though. Like what Faxi said, it might actually be the opposite. And it might not even be intentional. It might be because of how difficult it will be to scale the 12s and higher with these new affixes. It might mean that they accidentally undertune everything below it because the power of that new affix, like the new Kiss Curse affix, is really, really, really good, you know? So it might mean that like upgrading a 10, like triple upgrading a 10 is like super easy, you know? Just because all the damage buffs and everything. Let's be honest, the issue with Mythic Plus is a combination of the community and class balance. Maybe if they stopped fucking with affixes and nerfed Fire Mage, there would be more diversity. This has nothing to do with class stuff. That is my fear as well, Metro, yeah. What if they will nerf trash or bosses for Tyrant or Fort values below 10, and Tyrant and Fort just bring these values back? That would be unlikely to happen. They would just do that with that 12 affix instead, probably, but... I can't wait for people to try the new affixes and realize it's actual bullshit, says this guy. Oh, you probably can't even see these because of the chat. Should be easier to target tune for higher keys, hopefully. Really? I would say it's the opposite. I think the bargains sound good, especially the Ascendant bargain. Having both Fort and Tyrant every week for 10 and higher is fine as long as the dungeons are not tuned for the bosses to brick everyone's key. The level 7, well, that's how the game works, by the way. Anyway, the level 7 affix sounds like a good idea instead of an affix that would add time. I just don't get the point of the last affix. You know, when he says it this way, I kind of understand what he means. The level 7 affix sounds like a good idea instead of an affix that would just add time. So you basically start with a buff to the timer. If that's what actually happens, I'll be fine with that. Raid buffs in Mythic Plus is a big part of why there's God Comp. You will have 4 in Tyrant at 7, yep. Sicario says, dude, so true. I'm so tired of seeing the same 3 specs all the time in tournaments and stuff. Yeah, but unfortunately, that's just a community. I will say in the testing I've done, there isn't a ton of one-shots, which does make bosses just better, even with high scaling. Oh, yeah. I don't really think I did them enough to know that for sure. It's so easy to be a Blizzard fanboy now. See, when comments like that are made, it's like, all right, that's fine. Make a good change then. Like, go ahead and do it. As long as people are happy, I'm happy. The same 3 specs are going to be played no matter what the meta is. Yep, that's what I'm saying. That's just how the game works. I'm actually in love with the idea of the mechanics being dependent on the lore and tier of their content we're currently doing. I like that too. Blaz. No, Blizz. Blaz. Blaz. Most MDIs were not 3 specs though, but more like 5 or 6. Mages kept crying that Mage is bad, despite 1 spec always being good or meta. The game could be balanced great, but if 1 spec does 0.2% more damage, they're going to play that class. Yep. It's more about perception than reality. Actually, I'm going to change the title of the stream before I forget. Pens are 4 Tyrant, 7 is the 15 death. Yep. All I heard was Survival Hunter is getting some love, so I'm already pumped. Oh, sweet. Yeah, class changes are going to be awesome. I can't wait for that. There's actually like no crazy people on here. Everybody's pretty calm and normal. Not going to lie, a million times better, 100,000 times better changes. I'm still not a fan of Tyrannical, but that's a great start for high key players in my opinion. It's so weird. Like, what do you mean? You're not a fan of Tyrannical? Tyrannical doesn't exist anymore. Tyrannical is now just a flat modifier to the key. Tyrannical only exists in the state it's in because of Fortified. But when they're both there, it's like it doesn't exist anymore. What can you not be a fan of? What is he trying to say here? I don't like doing bosses? That's probably what he's trying to say. Like that guy before who was like, I only do Mythic Plus to pull really large trash. What about bosses? What do you mean? I do think the death penalty thing is the worst part about this. I don't think it comes into play as much as people are leading on. Oh, really? I mean, we'll see, I guess. We don't know for sure yet. Like, I mean, it definitely comes into play a lot because there's lots of deaths constantly in keys and we still upgrade them. So that's not going to happen anymore. But the question is, like, will something else change to compensate for that? I think he's trying to say I don't like spending more than 3 minutes on a boss, right? And that's just a silly thing to say when raid bosses are like 8+ minutes long at times. All they need to make Mythic Plus fun is buff Holy Valley. Why should get the group punished because Timmy stood in a puddle? We already lost time reviving him. My stance is that you should not lose time when people die. You already lose something. It's too much punishment. What else? My 2 cents. This is Gaming Cody's here. Spent time balancing all specs and classes and stopped fucking with the fixes. I love Pharaoh Druid and want to play a fucking cat, but when everyone sees them as shit, it's impossible to get into key to begin with. Well, so that's why the old affixes they just removed were good. They would allow non-meta specs to potentially see more play. Now the meta will be even more locked in than it normally is. My biggest hope with all these changes, and even the deaths become less impactful, if we have better respawn points. Yeah, no doubt. You think they should add like a punishment for people who constantly leave others keys? I can't get into that now, man. My throat's basically shot. But TLDR, I would want to see a system that encourages people to finish every key they do. Because if you start punishing people, you're going to catch a lot of people who don't deserve to be punished as well. Whereas if you just encourage everybody to actually finish keys, the people who are not like super sociopathic, they'll just start finishing every key they do instead of leaving. You can't buff a class that you don't even touch or change. Bring back necrotic. Game's too easy. For real, for real. Bring back necrotic. Okay. The problem with the old beta affixes was it wasn't enough. 10% of the couple of mobs and nothing on bosses was meh. And that was easy to fix. But it doesn't even matter if it was or wasn't enough because people out there would still care. There's people who bring fire mages to keys, right? Like, I don't have that chart anymore, right? Yeah, look at this. This guy intentionally invited this guy, and then that guy insulted me when he left. There's people out there who think fire mages are good picks to 14s. So, like, yeah, that's obviously gonna happen if there's a 10% buff to some class. Like, they would bring them no matter what. If it was a flat buff across the board, that would have been dope. That would have been better, yeah. At this point, is there even a reason to get less crests for missing the timer? I don't really believe that, like, timers should come into factor on any of these topics, in my opinion. You know what they should do? Make clickable checkpoints surrounded by mobs. So if you want a better spawn point, put it in your route. Ooh, that's genius. You always have such creative ideas. I like that idea. I'm smart. Faxi also is the kind of guy to brag about his own idea while explaining it. Like, what the fuck? But it's a great idea, so you deserve it. Bring back Grievous so healers love the game more. Necrotic is super fun. What, you don't like kiting? I don't. Alright, let's keep reading some more Wahoo comments, then we're going to get going. It's 5 o'clock. I want to get off. I know there's still more comments here. I am honestly fine with these changes except Challenger's Peril. Yep. Faxi always with the true, even when he is fluffing his own feathers. I guess they posted some Shaman reworks are coming next week. Oh. The idea is only good in theory. You all know that Blizzard will put the worst trash you can ever imagine in front of the respawn point. That's still good. I don't think that's bad. Feedback shamans. Oh boy, there's a lot. Oh no, that was like a while ago. Working through a package of updates for shamans, and we can now confirm that they have the majority of changes implemented and are ready for testing in the next beta build next week. Next week. Wouldn't the next beta build be the one that's coming today? Before then, we intend to deploy some beta tuning hotfixes for the class. But please know that this tuning is not part of the package coming next week. Uh-oh. I can't wait to see that. I also thought about an affix that was a trap and could execute a player or mob if it was hit by it. I like that idea. I kind of suggested that with Sanguine a couple years ago. Where you make Sanguine do damage. Or like something does damage to enemies, but also does damage to you. Need to test to know if I will like it or not, but I'm actually very intrigued. Yeah, there's actually like no off-the-wall comments on here. That's crazy. Let's go to the last page and see if there's anything. The issue will be the timer. I don't see how they can tune them to be balanced for casuals and pushers when you have both Fort and Tyrant plus the new Guile fix. That's my biggest concern too. And that's why I think they're going to intentionally make the timer way longer or something. I should make a second video on this, I feel like. There's so many new thoughts that have come out today. This is maybe the biggest thing that I've ever seen posted. Why is his text in a different color? I think it's because he pays Wowhead. Yeah, premium user. Blizzard made me feel uncertain about what class I'm going to play to not play the game at all. Thanks, Blizzard. It's been an amazing 18 years. Guy's name is correct. Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody quits the game over this after playing for 18 years, you're a fucking loser. You should go get a real hobby. That's embarrassing. This game has so much fucking content in it that even if they remove Mythic Plus, I wouldn't quit the game over it. They had to delay the shaman changes. The 15 deaths affix is nerfing the main defensive shaman, so they need to rework it. How would more people want to leave? I would think getting the same amount of crests even on a missed timer would at least get people to stay. I missed some comments, I guess. That idea is only good in theory. You all know that Blizzard will put the word. What else did he? When did he talk about that? I'm not sure. All right, yeah, I'm gonna get off too. Let me read this last one, then we're gone. We'll see you guys tomorrow, one way or the other. If it's beta, well, nothing. I'll be here, but if it's not beta, I'll just be back on live. I was liking the changes until I saw the extra death timer and then getting rid of the interesting affixes for high keys. That's pretty much exactly how I felt, yeah. I never really had a problem with most affixes except for Incorp and Afflicted, as I've stated before. I do wonder how they're going to tune the Tyrannical and Fortified combo numbers wise, or if it actually feel any different than a normal high-level key comparatively. Another potential upside, I guess, is that they keep acknowledging and trying to change things. Maybe constantly changing Mythic Plus every season will be enough of a variety for people to stop complaining, and then realize it wasn't ever really about the affixes. Yeah, really like that last part there. I agree that it is very encouraging that they are willing to take huge leaps to address concerns. I was just upset that this one was so obvious, but they did this instead. I put a comment in the video. Yeah, I think I read it, didn't I? Oh no. Love the changes. Still, rework Shaman. Okay. Okay, I will. Any other comments before we go? Yep, couple more. Couple more. For the 1 to 11 bracket, I'm pretty positive about the change. Maybe not as much as the 15 death second thing, as full wipe will cost you 1.5 minutes now. The initial Kiss Curse on 2 seems nice. The only thing that really bothers me is the same as yours. The gap between 11 and 12. Blizzard took a step in the right direction in separating casuals from key pushers, albeit the gap on paper seems too big, and it's some of those casual players want to step up above just rewards. They will have to have more level to progress before potentially hitting a wall. They should just the bargain affix as is on 12. Yep, I would agree. Metro's the dev at Blizzard. I can neither confirm or deny that. That's kidding. I'm just kidding. I can deny it. I gotta go now, but nice content. All right, sweet man. Yeah, there's gonna be more of those coming too. Looking at it a little closer now, it seems that they've included affixes that will not change the way you decide to do things on a pull-by-pull basis, and got rid of the need for unique abilities and spells contained with a minimal number of specs. No soothe or massive spell needed because of an affix. No need to pull a pack into a larger area to kite around sanguine puddles. If this is what they were trying to do, then it looks like they succeeded. How fun the dungeon will be with these more passive style affixes remain to be seen. The other thing you aren't thinking of is it will also heavily nerf build and comp diversity. Now you will currently you will see things like Evoker or Priest invited specifically for some affixes. And that can be very beneficial for breaking up the meta if those specs aren't currently meta. Okay. This is really a W, but hopefully they do some tuning around Tyran and Fort being on every key plus the 20%. I hope they remove the damage part but keep the health scaling. I don't think they would remove the damage part because then keys would not get much more difficult level after level. But yeah, I hope they do some tuning too. New shaman changes. Flame shock damage increased by 15%. Fix the bug that caused Earth Shield DR to sometimes be applied twice. Earth Elemental now withstands 30% more damage, but size has been reduced by 20%. That's it. They already posted that as well. It looks odd having Fortified Tyrannical at 4 and again at 12. Does that mean they will both be active at once? Yes. New shaman change. Picking shaman automatically puts your spec into fire mage. Oh no. No, it's a joke at them barely changing anything. Oh, okay. Alright, well I feel like we eventually are gonna have too many comments to keep doing this, so I'm gonna go ahead and get off. I will see you guys tomorrow, one way or the other. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.